What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, and I got a name that you know. You've seen her here before. She actually wrote for us once upon a time. Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am doing great. You're on the market, so to speak. And
That feels weird.
I know, and the thing that I noticed when you became available to outside promotions, I remember once upon a time, you told me, yeah, my goal is to wrestle 100 independent matches in a year. And you blew by that before you were in WWE. I expect things are probably going to be even busier now once things return to normal. How are you looking at things right now? Are you hearing from a lot of people?
Yeah, I'm excited. It felt really good to just I sent out that initial tweet that I was released, and just like the outpour of love and people that wanted to be creative and do podcasts and do interviews, and Drew from Beyond was like the first person to be like, let's get a series up about you, and I have a few tentative dates for later in the year for when things get back to normal. So just like the fact that I was wanted and people wanted to see me do all the things I did before and tenfold now, just made it so much better this last week.
Now, you were on TV right out of the gate. Like, you were immediately given television exposure, and that was pretty sustained throughout your run before WWE. Do you think that getting on TV that early was a blessing, a curse, or how did that work for you?
I don't know. At first it was like, okay, cool. It was the Mae Young Classic, and I went far in the tournament. And then it was like, okay, you're gonna have a match with Bianca on TV. You're going on a road loop, and I was like, this is great. I'm not gonna be here long. I'm gonna be on Raw soon. Because those are the steps it takes to be a TV star and then eventually get called up in NXT. So I was really excited to just kind of feel like I was being pushed right away. And then that kind of fell off for the majority of the rest of my time in NXT. So, I don't know. It was kind of like I have mixed feelings about it all from the start.
You've been pretty transparent that you had some creative frustration there, and that's going to happen. When you've got that many people under contract, you're going to have a lot of that. And there were a lot of the people who were among those released that have expressed their creative frustration in the past.
Yeah.
Do you think that fell on deaf ears? Do you think that was being heard? Was there anybody that you knew that was going to bat for you?
I don't know that anyone was going to bat for me except me. And it's funny because just in life, but especially in wrestling, people say one thing but do a complete opposite. So you don't ever really know what people are doing for you. It could help you or it could hurt you. And I've always felt like self-advocation, if anyone is going to stick up for me, it needs to be me, because I can't trust anyone else to do it. And I just feel like NXT is a culture of you're grateful for what you get and you don't ask for more. And I wasn't grateful for what I got because I feel like I worked my ass off to get to NXT. I worked my ass off to prove I belonged to be there when I got there. And I gave so much of myself to promos and having vignettes filmed on my own dime and on my own time, and thought out character ideas and vignettes for me as a tag team, for vignettes for me, Chelsea and Rachel as a trios, for myself. I just invested a lot of me in different ways that they could use me and use my potential, and it did fall on deaf ears because when I got opportunities, they were given to other people because I wasn't ready. And I didn't let it slide. So I don't know if all of us that expressed creative unhappiness, if that was the reason we were let go, because there was a few people in that group. But I definitely feel like that's frowned upon in NXT. And for me, I feel like, and maybe it's just making myself feel better, but that was probably a reason why I was let go. Because I said a month ago, hey, I'm not happy. And if you're not going to do something with me, let me go and let me figure this out somewhere else.
And it's funny you mentioned not just being grateful for what you had there. You were picked up and you had to pull out of All In to go to WWE. And
right.
So, I mean, those opportunities were there for you. You were on Impact TV, you were on Ring of Honor TV, you were about to be on All In, which it was the precursor to AEW. How did that conversation go, whether it be with those that helped put on All In or WWE, because they had to know you were booked for that when you were brought in?
Right. So it was the WrestleMania in New Orleans, and Shimmer had like their all-women show, and that was the day that Canyon approached me and had said like, hey, we'd really like to hire you. And I was like, well, you can't because I'm employed at Ring of Honor. And he was like, oh, well, I thought we discussed taking a short-term contract. And I said, we didn't discuss anything. That is not your choice. I said, I do have a 6-month opt-out, but I don't know if that's something I'm willing to do right now. And he put it very frank and was like, this is your opportunity, and I don't know if this is going to be available in a year. And it was kind of like, okay, well, shoot, this is my dream job. Like, do I give it up and hope it comes around again, or do I just do it and say I did it and see what happens? And obviously I did it, and, you know, it turned out that it was because I was with Ring of Honor. It was because All In was happening, and I tried to get away with, like, doing a few final Ring of Honor things and putting All In, like, under that Ring of Honor umbrella, and being like, they've been really great to me, and I don't want to end things on a bad note with them. I'd really like to keep this date. But, you know, actually it was put to me, now that I'm talking about it, like, well, if you do All In, that 6 weeks of pay and 6 weeks of TV, you're being held off of. And I was like, okay, well, they must have something for me that, you know, they want to do with me. And obviously they didn't. But it was more of like, do I just do this to say I did it and see what happens, and I can always leave if I'm unhappy? And I think that's been my mindset from the get of like, this is an experiment for both of us. And if it works, then this is all I've ever wanted. And if it doesn't, I'm confident that I can go back and do what I was doing before. Do
you wish you would have done All In now?
Yes. But hindsight is so 2020, isn't it? Like, I would have never felt that way had my WWE tenure not ended up this way.
Sure.
You know, and that's just life. You have to pick and choose what you think is best for you. And, you know, unfortunately, like, maybe going to WWE at that time and being a part of NXT then wasn't what was best for me. But who would have known it would have turned out this way?
And the 2020 hindsight of what Canyon Ceman said, that opportunity would have definitely been there in a year, because they were buying up everybody that they possibly could at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, and like, I look back now and I wish I would have said, like, well, if you really want me now, then you'd want me in a year.
Yeah.
But it's like blurred vision, you know?
So we had mentioned Ring of Honor. I had been told that originally plans called for a pretty big push for you. Like, they wanted to make you their champion, a lot of stuff like that. So, I mean, but we also have seen how things have developed there, and ain't so hot over there for the women the last couple of years. They've had some real ups and downs. Tenille didn't stick around. You didn't stick around. Do you think that affected the way that division got pushed? Are you willing to take blame for the current situation in Ring of Honor?
No, I'm not. I tried so hard to advocate for that women's division.
Heard that too.
I gave 150% of myself to Women of Honor. You know, I was helping with social media at one point. I tried to negotiate a contract. But it was just very much like, this is what you get, and there's nothing else. And I tried to be creative with storylines, and, you know, we had the Women of Honor tournament, but, you know, I was like, it's hard because I kept having to reiterate, like, I don't want this to just be about me, but the only feud we have right now is me and Kelly Klein. And I really think, you know, at one point there was an idea to have a cage match. And, you know, that was thrown around for a while, and I was like, this is our only feud, and it's big, and we've made it a big deal, and people want to see it. So why wouldn't we just make that the women's championship match? And then we book the champion a tour of Stardom. We book them an excursion in England. They go, you know, to Australia, and they defend this belt all over the world, and they give it credibility. And then when they come back, we have a tournament for a number one contender, and it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I came up with so many of those stories and so many different ways to integrate new people and really just push for that division. But there was so much pushback for some reason from the office that you know, I hate to be like at that time, and I don't know anymore, but Ring of Honor was very much a vanity project at that time. And it was like, people want women's wrestling, so we'll just give them women's wrestling. And no one really cared. So I don't take blame for that because I tried so hard until my last day there, fighting for women to have a spot on that roster and it be meaningful. But, you know, obviously things don't work out.
And a topic that I had heard about in relation to Ring of Honor, too, was digitally, the women were among the most viewed, most featured performers. Because up until a few months ago, Ring of Honor's YouTube was like a desert, man. Like, it was hard to find anything that succeeded there. But oftentimes, the women's matches would succeed there.
Absolutely. That was like another big thing that I would email Joe Koff about was like, look, these are the numbers. This is like the average number of a Women of Honor match. People want this. And if this is supposed to be the best wrestling on the planet, that is largely due to women's wrestling right now in what the wrestling culture of the world is. So let's invest. And if it can't be money-wise, make it story-wise. I don't know. I tried so hard. And, you know, like, they booked a lot of great females before all this crazy stuff in the world happened for, like, another, you know, Women of Honor Championship tournament and stuff. So I can only hope that people are really pushing for it there now and see the worth in women now. And it can only go up from where we were, you know?
I know you spent some time in Japan. Is that something that you're open to doing again? You as I mentioned, you wrote a great piece for us about your experience over there and was very well received. Are you open to heading back over there?
Absolutely. I said the other day, like, I want to do everything. And maybe it's not signing a contract right away, but it's showing up in as many indies as I can for as many promotions as I can, traveling the world like I did before. So Japan, Australia, England, Canada, you know, Puerto Rico, wherever it is. And just really getting a shot at being like, I said screw you WWE and I'd like to retract that. I said screw you NXT.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, if you want to bury anybody, this is the perfect place to just bury people. I mean, I don't personally see anything wrong with a woman in her mid-20s with her entire career ahead of her burning a bunch of bridges. What could possibly go wrong?
No, I'm not going to bury anyone.
Matt Bloom, Canyon Ceman, Triple H, Vince McMahon. You can just say whatever you want about all of them, and I for sure won't make a little video clip of it. I won't put a headline up there or anything.
No, I'm good.
What do you want? So what do you want the headline of this interview to be? That's always interesting. Because when I asked Hornswoggle, his was, Ethan Page will never make it in the wrestling business. So you never know what people will say.
I think we might get a lot of hits if it's like, Deonna Purrazzo signs with ...
So who are you going to sign with then?
Oh, well, that's a secret. We all have to find out together.
So now I can't do that.
Luckily, I said, like, you know, obviously AEW is, you know, a new product. It's great. Like, ideally, that would be an amazing option. Impact has an awesome women's division right now, so that would be a great option. Like, I don't think signing anywhere right now could be the wrong move. So it's going to be, like, I would like to wait it out and kind of get my feet back in the waters of indie wrestling and just see what my options are before I make any, like, crucial decisions again. I think just signing with a company, like, tampered me, and it made me like, I can't do it again. But I'm definitely excited just to, like, get back to indie wrestling and feel it out and see what this world is about, because I haven't been in it in 2 years.
You mentioned Impact. Now, you did some stuff with them when they were TNA and all that, but like anytime that, like, I asked Mike Bennett, and it's like, man, Mike Bennett's worked for Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, but they all had different management back when he worked for them, and that was just like a couple years ago. Impact is under completely new management now. Do you know where you stand with them or Scott D'Amore or Don Callis, and have you had any interactions with them in the past?
I've met Scott briefly a few times, and I don't know Don, but Madison Rayne is one of my best friends. And obviously she works with Impact and she's doing some commentary stuff right now. And you know, I know she has my back. And I know that if that was something I wanted, she would push really hard for me to be able to come in and at least try it out. So that very much could be a possibility. We're just,
it's a real good division. It's a real good division. Kylie Ray, Jordan Grace, I think Kiera Hogan is a lot better than anybody realized. Taya, Tennille's still popping in and out of there. Tessa, like they're all over the place there. And you also see what Tessa's able to do. Does what she's able to do there and what Taya has also been able to do, challenging for the world title, does that make you look and go, okay, that maybe that's a more liberal option compared to some others?
Yes. And I feel like just that openness to give women the opportunity, like I'm sure when they were like, Tessa is going to be the world champion, they thought this could be really mixed reviews and people were going to have opinions about it because the intergender thing has been such a hot topic for so long. But I just think it's really cool just to see women pushing those barriers and being able to and being put in positions to make history. So especially coming from like feeling very held back and feeling very underutilized, like a company that's willing to just like give me the ball and say, do what you want with it. Is totally what I'm looking to do right now.
You were a part of one of the hottest indie scenes that there were, like ever, before AEW had come around. And a lot of people wondered what's going to happen to the indies. But you see people like AJ Gray, Danhausen, Warhorse really emerging and being colorful personalities. So you were a part of that one. Now you're a part of a completely different landscape. And we don't really know what it's going to look like. But now it's flooded with a whole bunch of really good talent. What are you expecting out of this independent scene, just based on what we know now?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what to expect. That's like the scary thing of all of this is like, not that I didn't follow indie wrestling while I was with NXT, but I didn't. And I kept up with the people I care about and the people I follow, but it was just kind of like the companies that I worked the most for. So WWR, Beyond, those companies that, you know, I was a real staple in, I kept up with. So I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of excited to see like what women have really broken out and stayed on the indies, because a lot of the girls that are signed now don't do as much. So who is going to emerge as like that top women's indie star? And that doesn't have a name. That's making it for herself. I'm really excited to like find that person and work with that person.
I know you worked a ton of different indies, and some are going to be better than others. Do you have any indie horror stories? Because everybody's got that, hey, I'll PayPal you your pay later type of story. Do you have any horror stories?
I never didn't get paid. Like, I always was paid. But just a few times of like not knowing like who's going to pick me up at the airport and like landing wherever I was going and like trying to call and text and be like, who's coming to get me? Like, should I Uber? And then them being like, oh, just Uber and we'll pay for it. And then you spend $100 on an Uber and then they never pay for it. And you're like, well, you know, just silly things like that like add up. Or like baggage fees, like book a goddamn wrestler on the preferred airline or Southwest. Because if I'm with United, I get 2 free check bags. And if I'm with Southwest, everyone gets 2 free check bags. So, you know, like take care of those little things because it adds up for when I have to pay for it myself and then I want my money back.
So back to the process of signing with WWE. We mentioned the All-In thing. Did they straight up tell you, hey, no bueno there, not doing that?
Like I said earlier, it was more of like, I tried to mask it as a Ring of Honor thing.
Yeah.
And then them being like, that's 6 weeks, you're not going to be on TV. And I was like, oh, well, that could be a good thing for me to get in and be right on TV. So yeah, I'm not going to argue because I had like my hiring process was weird because we had to wait till my Ring of Honor contract expired. That expired on July 1st. And then I reported to the PC July 18th. So I had to like get a contract, sign it, send it back, do medical, pass medical, and move to Florida all in like an 18-day span. So it was like, I didn't even know what my contract terms were until really like mid-June when I was like, listen, I'm in Japan, I'm coming home. And unless I know what I'm going to be making, I'm not coming to Florida. So I had to be very aggressive about those things because it could have been contract tampering. And that's why they didn't want to give it to me. But it was like, my life is supposed to change. You need to tell me X, Y, and Z, or I'm not coming because I don't trust it's going to happen. So when it came to pushing to be on All In, I kind of like picked my battles and tried and didn't succeed and was just kind of like, okay, it is what it is.
And they weren't like strangers to you at this point. You had done several appearances with WWE. I mean, you were La Luchadora.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I swear I've said, and I've probably said it to the wrong people in NXT too, but like I was used more as enhancement talent than I was used as contracted talent. Like between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown.
Do you want to hear a stat that'll make you upset?
That I'm like 0-20 or something.
Yeah. Outside of the Mae Young Classic. That's one I put in my stats piece. I'm very sorry, but
no, I should be a Hall of Famer. I want like the Biggest Loser WWE Hall of Fame ring.
I was like, oh no, because I was, I go through everybody. I'm like, all right, how are they doing? When's the last time they won on TV? And I looked and I was like,
never.
They've never had Deonna win except for like a Mae Young Classic match, I think. Yeah, the first and second round of the Mae Young Classic. And is that anything that you ever brought up? Like, hey guys, will it keep meaning anything if I lose to these people when I always lose?
Well, it became like a running joke in the locker room because I didn't win a lot of live events either.
Yeah.
And when Chelsea and I were tagging, it would be like, well, Deonna's going to take the finish. Like, and so it just became a running joke of like, don't even ask, I'm taking the finish. Like, or I would say to the producers, like, I know the finish, don't worry. Where at one point, like, one of my last matches before all this stuff happened, I wrestled one of the new girls in like one of her first singles matches. And I was like, okay, do you have a finish? And the producer were like, no, this is her first match. Like, you're up. And I was like, are you sure? Do you want to get confirmation of that? Because I'm not usually. We're like, we made it a joke, but it became embarrassing because it's like, I get you can't always win all the time, but what is the point of having me lose all the time? Because if I'm ever going to then get a push, who are these people beating? Everyone's beat me. And nothing is going to be believable from here on out if I lose all the time. So actually, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was supposed to do like a Sunday taping that they filmed with 3 TVs right before it was like, everything needs to be live. And it ended up not happening, but I got an email saying like, it's you versus her. She's up clean and no more match notes. And I emailed back and I said, listen, like, unfortunately, I don't think it's in my best interest to wrestle. This person's already beat me clean twice, and I'd rather be held off TV further than continue to be called upon as enhancement talent. And I never heard back. I didn't hear from anyone then until I was fired. But it's like, at what point is enough, and are you just being taken advantage of? It's kind of how I felt.
How did that conversation go? Do you feel like one correlated to the other? Do you feel like your response correlated to the call that you got about being released?
I don't know. I don't know if all of these releases were that thought out, because that was like maybe a week and a half before all this happened. But like I said earlier, I do think that because I just, for the last 6 months, had these conversations of like, listen, I'm unhappy. And is this ever going to be for me? Because I'm happy doing the job for other people, and I'm happy, watching my friends and people I care about succeed. But like, if I'm not going to succeed, why am I here? And what am I doing? I had those conversations for 6 months. And the week before Chelsea and I went to Raw in December, I actually wrote an email to quit and to ask to be released. And I only didn't send it because then we were asked to go to Raw, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't quit now.
Yeah.
So this is something that when I tweeted last week of like, people who know me the best know that this is something I've struggled with, wanting myself for a long time. Like, this is something I thought about in December, and I spoke to them about it. I was very open with like, this isn't the place for me, I don't think. So I think that is what correlated with me being released. It was just, they knew I was unhappy and they knew I wanted it.
So you and Chelsea, I should say, had a real confusing couple of months there. Like, you all got the NXT TakeOver treatment, but it was on NXT USA, which you could argue was a bigger type of reveal like that. And it was you two in the crowd, and it was very clear that they were setting up or letting people know these two are friends. They're probably going to be a tag team. What's up? But then nothing on TV. What were you all told going into that night and then subsequently when nothing happened?
Well, it was like a confusing time once TV started to go live, because some people had to be in class on Wednesdays, and then if you weren't in class, it was because you were booked for TV. So I think Chelsea and I were in class when we got a text being like, hey, you're going to do a crowd appearance, like, please be at Full Sail at this time. It was apparently a very last minute thing that was added in. And so we went, we did hair and makeup, and Hunter came up to us and was like, you know, this is what we're going with. I want you to come up with new names. I want you to come up with vignette ideas, and kind of like made us feel like this is the direction we're going, and you guys are going to be a tag team. And then we sent all of our ideas like multiple times, didn't hear anything back. And then we shot like a few ID shoots, and then Chelsea was doing ID shoots on her own. And I kind of was like, okay, let me have a conversation with someone. And, it was that Chelsea was TV ready and I wasn't. And like, maybe I shot myself in the foot again because I flipped out. And I said, well, no, like, this is part of the problem. I have asked for, 15, 16 months now how I can be TV ready for when I get an opportunity. No one has given me critique. No one has told me if you like my hair color, if you like my gear, if you like this, you like that. Now I'm getting an opportunity and you're telling me it's my fault I'm not TV ready? It's your fault. And that was like the last conversations we had about VXT, because I was like, and I said, I'm not mad that Chelsea's being on TV.
Sure.
Because if I want anyone to succeed, like, I have a core group of best friends that I would do anything for, and I want the absolute world for. But if I'm going to keep being like burned by this company, again, what is the point? And this was the one opportunity I was getting to actually be put in a storyline, and now I'm not ready for it. It was just absurd to me.
So you all are then brought to Raw, and let me tell you, there was a real confusing period for me too, because this is after a draft, like a shakeup, an invasion of NXT and Raw, and we're told, okay, they're defining the rosters and all this, and you've got NXT people all over Raw and sometimes SmackDown. Not as much, though. I don't know if people have noticed, but a lot of the enhancement people from NXT only work Raw and not SmackDown. Do you know if there's a reason for that?
I have no idea.
I don't think they do either. So you all are brought up for that period, and you faced, I think, Asuka, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What were you told then? Were you told this is a call-up, or this is a wait and see, this is an enhancement thing?
We were both told nothing. Like, we got a text maybe Friday saying, like, hey, you're booked for Raw on Monday, and you'll get travel info. Confirm that you received this message.
Right before the Christmas break, too. So when I was waiting to see, will she be on other things? Will Chelsea be on other things? You don't know, because there's no events. Right.
And we were both like, no, this isn't going to happen. This isn't real. We get to Raw, we're still not told anything. We sat around for a couple hours. They filmed us, and then finally it was like, 3 or 4 o'clock, and it was like, cool, D, you're gonna wrestle Asuka, Chelsea, you're wrestling Charlotte. And then we weren't told anything after either. So it was a very confusing period for us, and especially me, because I was legit just told, like, there's nothing for you in NXT, like, keep working hard. And I wrote the email to quit. So it was very much like, I need to know what I'm doing, because I'm in limbo of like, do I quit or do I stick it out because I could be on Raw now?
So, yeah, you're brought back then, what was it, maybe the next month in January, and you do back-to-back weeks, I think it was against Sarah Logan.
Yeah.
For main event.
Yeah, and there had been like 2 weeks that I was there and didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then I did those 2 main event matches with Sarah.
And you were on NXT in the interim, correct? I think you did live events and you were in the Battle Royal.
Yes.
So you're all over the place. You're on Raw, you're on main event, you're on NXT, and you still probably have no clue, right? What's going on?
So I had asked Triple H to sit down and talk, because I just wanted to be clear on, like, what's going on. And I wasn't included in the Royal Rumble, so it was kind of like, okay, well, if I was maybe going to be on Raw, I'd probably be in the Rumble. Like,
Sure.
now I'm even more confused because I, even from an NXT standpoint, wasn't included in the Rumble. So, I just kind of sat down and talked to him and kind of had the same conversation of like, hey, I'm very confused. You know, like I've been going back to Raw and, you know, I've been on TV once or twice here now. And I'd really just like to know what's going on and what to expect. Because I'm a little uneasy about it all too. And at that point, like I had just attacked Shotzi after I was eliminated in the Battle Royal. And from all different accounts, I was meant to go into a story with Shotzi. And we filmed like a backstage thing, and we filmed some other stuff. Like me, Shotzi, Lacey, Kaden Carter, and Chelsea were doing some stuff. So we were all like, okay, well, let's come up with some ideas to pitch of like maybe how to stretch this out to get us more TV time, to really make you and Chelsea bad guys separately or as a tag, and make us strong baby faces. So we pitched a ton of ideas and I never heard anything back. And like, obviously then I lost clean to Shotzi that night and then again in the Redemption Battle Royal. So, you know, there was never any callback to that was going to be a story.
And then finally you appeared with Nia Jax. Now, you had wrestled Nia multiple times well before you were signed on NXT. How did those experiences differ? I don't want too much detail because I've told you before, I want to save that for a special segment, just your appearances before you got signed. But how did that differ because you had worked with her during distinctly different points of both of your careers as far as experience goes?
Right. The cool thing is, and I don't think many people have put this together, my first match on NXT TV was Nia. And then my last match in WWE up until this point was Nia. So we've built a rapport. Like, I think she's an amazing human. She's always been generous and giving and, like, taking care of me. But, you know, our first match was one of her first matches in NXT when she debuted. And there was nervousness on both our ends for that because it was my first time in NXT. She's figuring out who she is. And now we fast forward like 5 years later and she was just coming back from injury. So there was nervousness for that. And I was like, honestly, like, I'm happy it's me because you're comfortable with me. We've done this a few times. And if there's anyone that you could be in the ring with, like, I'm happy it's me. And she felt comfortable. Like, it was very much like, let's roll around and feel some things out. And like, we got our direction and then we did it. So it wasn't very different thinking back on it now of both scenarios. It was very comfortable this time around because we know each other.
So I don't want people to think that this is a completely negative interview. What are some positives from your time there? What are some of your highlights? What are some of the things that you look back on and you're like, man, that's awesome. I'll miss that for now. Yeah,
I think, like, I've said it before too, like, NXT at one point was very like, we need characters and everything needs to be character driven, and that's not who I am. You know, as like a human being, I'm not like that, and as a wrestler, I'm not like that. So it's been very interesting to like find that character within myself and how I used Virtuosa before to the presentation of the Virtuosa now is completely different. So, like, I take that as the biggest positive of I've been able to, like, get amazing looking gear. I've been able to put a whole package together of who I am. I improved on my move set and, you know, integrated more, like, submission wrestling and things like that. So those are definitely positives. I mean, they have like a ring in the PC that is like soft, so you can flip and do stuff. So like, I've gotten over my fear of the top rope, and you know, I could always do flips. It was just like me not being comfortable in the ring. So I think that entering back into wrestling when we can, like, my moveset is completely different. And then you just build a rapport with people, and whether ultimately they like me or not, like, I've gotten to sit down and have conversations with Triple H. I've gotten to sit and have conversations with Road Dogg or Paul Heyman and make those contacts that if I get an opportunity to go back to WWE in the future, like, are only going to benefit me more. So it's not all negative. Like I had a really great time and I made money and like I'm in a really good position in my life because of all of the experiences that I had. So, you know, it's not negative. I don't hate WWE. I don't hate NXT. Like I just didn't have the experience I thought I would have.
Well, let the people know where they can follow you on social media, where they can support your projects. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and hopefully once the pandemic ends, you're going to have a whole lot more going on.
Yeah, I've been so busy all week. I forgot how like I didn't do media for like 2 years, so all week was like the media tour of my life, and like, but we are Drew Cordero and I, alongside with Indie Wrestling TV, are working on like a 3 or 4 episode series, just going through my career. We're answering fan questions, watching some matches from WWR. Like this first episode comes out tomorrow, and we watch my first match with Santana Garrett, and just some really fun behind the scenes stories and stuff I've never talked about before. So that's going to be like a weekly thing coming up. I have my Pro Wrestling Tees store. There's a bunch of new t-shirts up, so that's prowrestlingtees.com/Deonna Purrazzo. And then I have my own merchandise store that has 8x10s and gear and all that kind of stuff up there. That is DeonnaPurrazzo.bigcartel.com.
I highly encourage you guys to check out that interview series because, I mean, you were on TV almost immediately in your career. Like, it's a path that almost nobody else has taken, and you have not stopped being featured on TV until you signed with WWE. Then you stopped. But seriously, I mean, she's been all over the place. Make sure you guys check that out. Deonna, I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross at Fightful.com here with a name you know. And you know her because we interviewed her a few months ago, and a lot has happened since then. Usually, I like to wait like a year or something, but Deonna Purrazzo, you've had so much stuff happen.
My whole life's changed.
Yeah, or Deonna Purrazzo, I think it was, that someone spelled your name the other day with an I.
Oh. I'm so used to that. I feel like no one can ever get my name right.
What's the worst misspelling of your name you've ever seen? I'm a Sean who spells my name Sean, so I see a lot of them. But you've got some Z's in there, and it seems like people can't sound them out.
Right. I think that was the worst one. Pyroxa, I don't know how to say it. I think that's the worst one I've seen, because sometimes it's just like an E instead of a U. It's one R or one Z or whatever. I've just accepted my fate, and like it's my real name. It's on my birth certificate. There's nothing I can do about it. So it is what it is.
How do you balance that as a wrestling character who plays a wrestling character, but you're playing Deonna Purrazzo, then you go home, you go to the supermarket, and you are still Deonna Purrazzo?
You know what's so funny that you say that is, so I am in college, right? And every other week we have to do like a discussion question. Mm-hmm. And I answered my discussion question last night before it was due. And we have to reply to our peers with why we disagree with their answer, why we agree with their answer. And someone at the bottom replied to mine like, hey, whatever about the Chinese dynasty, blah, 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 blah. Also, I'm a big wrestling fan. Best wishes. And I was like, oh, hell no. Because that was the first time in a long time that like my worlds have coexisted like that. And I was like, no, I hate it. But for the most part, I feel like I'm me. And the Virtuosa character just has like elements of who I really am in my real life and my real life interests and hobbies and stuff like that. So it's not too far-fetched of a coexistence, but that's the first time that it's like commingled like that, and I hated it.
And as you grow and you get more experience, which you've got plenty of, you're gonna get a lot of those people that have trouble separating you from the you play on TV, especially with the fact that you use your real name.
Yeah. I always just thought, like, you know, Damien years and years ago was like, you should have a new name. And I always just thought, like, with the way technology has advanced and like Wikipedia and Google, like everyone would know what my real name was anyway. And if I'm authentic to who I am in wrestling, then it's not too far off from who, Deonna Purrazzo really is. So I didn't want to play a different name, a different character in wrestling, because it would be very easy for society to find out what my real name is, who I really am. So I've just kind of embraced that.
Well, since the last time we spoke to you, your fortunes have changed quite a bit. You were coming off of a WWE run and a release, and maybe a couple weeks after we spoke, you debuted for Impact Wrestling and made an immediate impact, not to use the pun, but then you became Knockouts champion. Explain to me who makes the first contact to you and says, we want to bring you in?
Yeah, well, so Madison Rayne is like one of my biggest supporters, one of my greatest friends. And, through my whole WWE stuff, like she just kind of knew where my head was at. And, she was one of the first people I told when I was, released that it had happened. And she just kind of was like, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And she was a really big advocate for me coming to Impact. And so she kind of just always knew how I felt and what I was going through and how I was feeling about it. And just kind of always was like, hey, you don't ever have to worry about having an opportunity here if you want it. And when the time is right, I will do what I can to help you come here. And so, through her, then I talked to Scott D'Amore, and things just kind of fell into place after, my 30-day non-compete. And I was able to, after those 30 days, the first episode of Impact was right after. It was like 2 days later, and I was able to, make that immediate impact.
Were you surprised that you only got a 30-day non-compete? 90 is the traditional, but it seemed like the NXT releases got much shorter.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, every contract's kind of standard with what that would be. So I wasn't really sure what it would be. I had to ask when I was on the phone, but I was happy it was only 30 days because it gave me those opportunities to make those impacts and make those impressions right away and kind of get my feet grounded in what I would be doing next. And I didn't have to dwell for a very long.
I know for a lot of people, they're excited to get that 90 days pay, but I think for you, coming off of a creatively frustrating run, which you readily admit, getting right back out there seemed like it benefited you the most. You had the buzz of Deonna Purrazzo, well-traveled but still young wrestler, is out there on the free agent market. Did you find that benefited you?
Absolutely. I think I was, I got to Impact before the Good Brothers did. I got to Impact before Heath did. Like, I was the first person to, on any brand, get out there right after this, Day of Reckoning happened. So I think for me and the fan base that I've established over the years, they really wanted to see me do well and really supported me through those whole 30 days. And then when I was able to, my vignette played on Impact, it was like, oh crap, that, it just aided to the surprise and to people really wanting to see what my next steps were and see me do well. And, Impact's given me the platform to do everything I wanted to do and take all those frustrations and get rid of them and put myself on a brand new platform. So to be able to do that right off the bat, I think changed the game for me completely.
This wasn't your first rodeo in Impact. You'd been around in TNA, Impact, whatever it was named at the time, not to disrespect it, but you had appeared there. Not only that, but extremely early in your career. You got some television exposure there very, very early.
Yeah, my 8th, and it's so funny because my phone right now is propped up high enough so you could see me at my desk, and just under the stack of DVDs that my phone is on, there's Knockouts Knockdown 2014. I'm going to try to pull it out slowly without screwing up the camera, but I swear, my 8th professional match in front of a crowd was at Knockouts Knockdown 2014 against Brooke Tessmacher. I was 18 years old, I wasn't even 19 yet. Here it is. Oh, we're falling.
It's amazing.
There it is. It was just, I was so in over my head. I almost killed her with body slams because I was so nervous and didn't know what I was doing. And, to be able to have my career kind of come full circle like that. And now I can't get this thing to stand back up straight. There we go. To have my career come full circle and, go from that shy little girl who didn't know what she was getting herself into to this like confident virtuosa. That's more than a nickname. It's more than a moniker. It's a transformation from that little girl to who I am now. This whole last few months has been so special to me because of the past I had with Impact or with TNA.
How had things changed since then? Like, for example, Impact's been through a lot of regimes. This one seems to be the most steady that they've had in a long time. I spoke to the former Tara, Lisa Marie Varon, and when she left TNA 10 years ago, she's like, oh, I'll never go there. I talked to her 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she's like, well, I can't say that now. There's a lot of people there I like. Gail Kim is there. Like, there's a lot of people there that I respect, and it's changed my perception. How did your perception of the company change, or your experience there change based on your return?
Yeah, I wasn't in the company then. So I just came in for the Knockouts, Knockdown, and then another one. And then I did, a couple explosion matches and just one-shot opportunities. And for me, something that was always lacking was like the character. And, of course, I was brand new. I had no idea how to work a hard cam or floor cams or, how to give a body slam properly. So the second time I came back, it was like, I'm confident in my wrestling ability, but I still don't have like a character to it. And this time I had all of that written out. That first conversation I had with Scott, I was like, I have an entire character synopsis. This is who I think I am. I have vignettes I'll send you. Like, I really had a good basis of who I had become from those prior experiences. And if that's what you're looking for, I had that now. So I kind of, this time around, gave them no opportunity to say, like, you don't have this, or you don't have this, or you're not ready for this. It was, this is the virtuosa. Here's her character. Here's her real life. This is the backstory. And, you can't say no now.
So in poking around, talking to people at NXT, I would always hear that you would pitch your own stuff. Did the months or even years of, whether it be creative frustration or just lack of creative, did that have things ready for you when you were coming to Impact? Like, you already probably had an idea of what you wanted to do, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I had, like I said, an entire thing written up of like, here's the virtuosa, and this is the literal definition, and here's like promo ideas, and here's how I'd like her to speak. And, that kind of fell on deaf ears before, but it was so welcomed at Impact, and they just took it and were like, everything about this character, roll with it. So, I came off with like, I had such bad experiences and I'm frustrated and I need to vent all my grievances. But I really, from my time, before Impact, really got to like, it brought in my character development. And it's made this transition into Impact 10 times easier because I was able to give them a format of who I thought I was. And every week I'm able to, explore different scenarios that the virtuosa is and how she would react in certain situations and to different characters. And it's just something I've never gotten the chance to do before. So I'm learning more and more about myself every single week as we go on to Bound for Glory. Speaking
of Bound for Glory, October 24th, Impact Bound for Glory already has a stacked card. As we're filming this, your match was officially announced this past week against Kylie Ray, who earned her opportunity at Slammiversary. This will not be your first time facing Kylie Ray. I know for sure of at least 2 singles matches. I know a couple tags, but those were years ago. You all were different people, different wrestlers. What can you draw off that past experience and apply it to today?
Yeah, I think it's easy to go after Kylie's character flaws and who Smiley Kylie is on TV, but I have wrestled Kylie before. And I had a lot of fun wrestling her while she was on the come up of the indies. And now she's kind of taken over. So it is a different her, but there's a lot of elements to Kylie Ray that are the same. So I know she's athletic as heck. I know that she's in the best shape of her life. I know that she's training every single day. So it's just trying to match her hustle right now and get to that same level of like preparedness that she's always at.
When you saw the roster that this Impact Wrestling company had, was that a draw to you to come to the company? Because it's unreal. I mean, even after Tessa Blanchard left, you look and it's like, oh well, they're not missing a beat. They've got
Right.
Jordan Grace, and they've got Kylie Ray, and now they've got Deonna. Tenille just popped back up, and Tenille admitted to me that seeing like you and Kylie were a big reason why she came back and why she was ready to get back in the ring. Was that a drawing point for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think, having a stacked women's division and really putting that at the forefront of their product isn't something that Impact or TNA was shy of doing ever. So kind of seeing, Kylie there, Jordan there, Taya Valkyrie there, Nevaeh just had debuted, Tasha Steelz had debuted, watching all of these girls who I knew from the indies get these opportunities to be put at the forefront of a division and really getting the time to develop themselves on TV every week was everything I was looking for. So on top of, getting that time and that development, like there's so many women that have been mainstays in this division, like Havoc, like Rosemary, Madison Rayne was in that Slammiversary gauntlet match. Gail Kim is behind the scenes. There's so many opportunities to learn and to grow and to have new opponents and to continually like bring myself to a new level with these women that made it so exciting for me.
You were, again, very outspoken that you thought you could do more the last couple of years. Based on how you have succeeded in Impact Wrestling, do you feel like vindicated? Do you feel like this is what I told you guys I could do, and now I'm doing it?
A little bit, but I also feel like there's a tremendous amount of pressure on me to perform at that level that I said I could perform at. And with Impact taking this chance on me and all the things that I said, before I really got started in the division, I take this role so seriously, and I'm constantly like getting time in the ring and working on new things and trying to up my cardio and get in better shape and bring my gear to the next level every time, because I want to prove not only myself right, but the people that believed in me and the people that are giving me these opportunities, like they need to know how heavily it weighs on me and how much I appreciate it. So there's so much pressure that I felt going into Slammiversary. There's 10 times more pressure that I've put on myself going into Bound for Glory now, because not only do I need to retain my championship, but I can't be like a one-hit wonder. I can't be a fluke. I need to like bring it to that same level, then some, the second time around.
Now, admittedly, before Slammiversary, when we would do like the prediction shows, I'd be like, Deonna's not winning that. She doesn't have a contract. It was pretty widely known that you were working per appearance. Were you surprised that they were willing to instill their trust in someone who hadn't signed long-term yet?
I think going into Slammiversary, I was very honest about, like, I like everything about this. I like the vibe here. I like the girls here. I like how I'm treated, I feel very much a part of, and all of the things that I felt I was lacking on like a fundamental human basis prior, I feel at this place. And I made that known of like, it might just be a one-shot thing, but like, this is where I want to make my home and I want to grow in this place. So I was surprised, but I was also like, this is a good sign and this is good for me, and I'm going to plant some roots here and to be given the trust, not just to be the champion, but to come in and go right for the champion and be getting these storylines and all of the TV time and the social media stuff that I've been able to do. It shows that they have equal trust. So as surprising as it was, I feel like we had a mutual understanding of like, I would love to be here long term,
Yeah, so that was my next question. This is a place where you're looking to be long-term.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, like I've been here now since May, so almost 5 months now, and I'm happy with everything I've been doing. I'm happy to stick around, and I'm happy to continue to defend my championship on every pay-per-view for the long term.
How did you feel defending that championship in a Knockouts Iron Man match? I mean, that had to be almost an honor, a challenge. What kind of emotions are going through your head when that happens?
I was so like, I don't even know how to process this. Because for the longest time, it was like I'm wrestling 5-minute matches, I'm wrestling 6-minute matches. And, Jordan and I I think we did 17 or 18 minutes on the pay-per-view. And now we're getting a first ever Iron Man knockouts match. Like, I was just kind of blown away again at that trust that they have in me to not only then deliver on the pay-per-view, but continue to build the story and deliver in a first ever make history kind of match. It was very overwhelming, and like, me and the little girl that I wanted to be, that changed the perception of women's wrestling, like wanted these opportunities and wanted to be a first ever. So to get the opportunity to do that, and there's not very many opportunities left to do things like that now, was incredible for me.
Did you grow up watching like the TNA knockouts, or were you more of a Ring of Honor WWE girl? Like what did you grow up watching?
Yeah, I grew up, I think like everyone originally like a WWE fan.
Yeah.
And then, I was a big Hardy Boys fan. And when they made the transition over, and Jeff Hardy was on Impact, or if it was TNA at the time, like I was flipping through and saw him, and I loved Shannon Moore. So, they were all in that time on TV, and I used to tune in to watch them. But then to see, these women, breaking that mold and that glass ceiling, however you want to say it, way before their time and so ahead of the curve, like, it gave me hope that like, if these women could do it, like there's possibility for it to be done elsewhere. And, I just need to turn 18 so I can go to wrestling school and be a part of this.
I mean, TNA itself, or TNA Impact now has just turned 18. So I think it's kind of cool that you're seeing people like when you draw off of Kiera Hogan, they can refer back to YouTube videos she did 10 years ago where she's like, TNA Knockouts division is so much better than WWE's. Like, there are people on the roster that are now coming of that age that grew up watching and being inspired by Awesome Kong and people like that Taylor Wilde, even, who's gotten back into wrestling, like there's a lot of that.
And there's so many opportunities now. Like, I got to be in the ring with Awesome Kong. Not only did I get to wrestle Awesome Kong on the indies, and I submit her, which is crazy, and I don't know that that's ever happened before. I got to be in the ring with Awesome Kong on an Impact, like, one night only pay-per-view. We did a big women's gauntlet match. Chelsea Green was in the match. Mia Yim was still in Impact. Rebel was there. Marty Bell was there. Whenever that time was, like, Awesome Kong eliminated me. She gave me and Chelsea a double choke slam and then threw us both out of the ring. So, just to have been inspired by these women, I just did Taylor Wilde's Wild On podcast a couple weeks ago. Madison Rain is one of my best friends. Gail Kim gets to produce my matches at Impact. Like, it's come full circle, and it's really inspiring. And it really, as, someone who is watching girls come up now, it gives me that motivation to like be a helping hand and do right by them and want to inspire these women to, make these changes in women's wrestling and wrestling as a whole.
We have some interesting reader questions. A Chelsea G from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, sent in a question that said, if you were stranded on a deserted island, who would you choose to be with you? Fitz, Cuddy, or Chelsea Green?
She writes into all of these interviews. I mean, that's
she also asked you to do one of your high school cheers.
Oh, well, that's not happening. I think that I don't think Fitzgerald is a person, so I'm going to pick Chelsea, and then I'm going to pack Fitz in the suitcase that comes with me. And then Cuddy can hit the road. I
also had a very unique question sent from a dental office in Pittsburgh that asked, who is your favorite current women's wrestler, and why is it Britt Baker?
Well, because Britt Baker is a dentist, isn't she?
I don't think that there's any connection between that and the question. I mean, I just think it's
I'm saying, coincidence. If I had to pick a favorite dentist that's also a wrestler, it would obviously be Britt Baker.
There's a couple. You've got other options if you want to explore those. I mean, look at Kane. No. He's the mayor now.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with Britt Baker.
As we're filming this, I canceled my trip to the Collective as well. You were booked for it. You were booked for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, and that is a very unique style that is kind of coming back to the forefront. How did you feel when you were booked for that, and kind of run me through the decision to withdraw, which, I mean, a few people have for their safety, and you got Bound for Glory coming up.
Right. So when I spoke to Josh for the first time, I was like, oh my God, am I really going to do Bloodsport? Is this really happening? I'm kind of scared. Do I want to? But then I thought, why not? It's just another layer to me. If I claim myself to be the greatest female technical wrestler in the world, I should not turn down this opportunity to prove it on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. So that's why I chose to do it. But unfortunately, just with the craziness of the world right now and the uncertainty of being asymptomatic or showing symptoms and not knowing, I really needed the time, God forbid something happened or I didn't feel well, to properly isolate if need be. And between this weekend and Bound for Glory, there wouldn't have been enough time to do that, just on the off chance. So it was purely precautionary. I just wanted to be, at my healthiest and definitely be able to be at Bound for Glory. And that meant, not taking a booking that a million people are going to be at and be surrounded by all that uncertainty.
Yeah, I think like 24 interviews set up, and it sucked to go to all those people and say, hey, I'm not doing this, but it's ultimately a matter of safety, and obviously Impact is where your bread is buttered right now.
Right. I mean, I am the Knockouts champion, so I have an obligation to be present for Bound for Glory, be present for our tapings thereafter, and just be healthy and be aware of every decision that I make and how that's going to reflect upon, my company, but, how also my decisions will define, other situations. And I didn't want to be stuck in a situation that was like, I can't defend my championship after, it being announced, after all the storytelling we've done, all of the TV we've done leading up to this. Like, it had to be my number one priority. And, it sucked to have to cancel things and people were excited. I was excited, but I had to do what my gut was telling me, and I had to do that for Impact.
When you informed them, did it seem amicable and all that? Like there might be another opportunity down the road?
Yeah, I was just like, hey, listen, like, with people that are coming forward, and it just seems like it's a little more than I anticipated right now, and I don't think it puts me in the best position to be safe and to be readily available for my other obligations that are a little bit more important. So, I'm really sorry, and if there's anything you need from me, I can put out a statement. I can, we can rebook. Everyone just kind of seemed to understand, and it's just the way of the world right now. We have to, put this at the forefront of all our decision making. So there wasn't any hard feelings as far as I know. Everyone was kind of cool about it and understood where I was coming from.
As we start to wrap up, I'm really interested to find out, like, what is the free agency period during a pandemic like? I mean, you had experience in a variety of different companies. You were booked for All In before that turned into a company, but you just left WWE. You had experience in Japan, but it's not like you could head over there during that period.
Right.
It seemed like Impact was a match made in heaven for you, like, all things considered.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I was as scared until I spoke to my dad. And, him just being a dad and being worried for me, he was like, okay, well, you're paid for the next 30 days, but what are you going to do thereafter? And I was just kind of like, well, I can't go get a job tomorrow. Like, I can't go back to teaching tomorrow. So that was the first moment that I was like, we are in a pandemic, and I haven't had to worry about, how am I going to make money in the longest time? And even before All In or WWE, like, I didn't have a full-time job. Wrestling was my full-time job. So just the timing of all of it, and Impact, welcoming me in from the moment they could, just kind of ease those worries. And even now, transitioning into indie wrestling, coming back, it's just about my safety. It's about the safety of my others that are close to me. My boyfriend is looking to get back on TV. I can't, go do an indie and come home and we're both sick, and then he gets called to go back to TV and he can't. Like, there's so many layers to my decision-making process right now that I just have to do what's right for my family and right by Impact, and being present for all of those things and all of my prior obligations is most important. But, Impact was a match made in heaven. I really, really stand by that. That's a really good way to put that.
You mentioned being a teacher, and you mentioned being in college. What are you in college for?
I am in college for a history degree.
Nice. Nice. Anything specifically that drew you to that?
I'm a big JFK fan. I'm a big, JFK, Vietnam War, how that all transpired. I'm also really fascinated by like the American Revolution and World War II. So that whole kind of what a university would define as like U.S. history too.
Yeah.
It encompasses all of that, and that was something that I was drawn to while I was still in high school. Those were some of my favorite assignments to do. And it just kind of comes natural to me. So when I went to college right after high school, I was exercise science major, or kinesiology. And it just, the biology, the chemistry, the mathematics of it is not something I've ever been good at. And I really had to try hard and have tutors and still didn't pass. So I just thought this time around, it's like, do something that interests you naturally and something that you do well without a ton of effort, which sounds lazy, but I love all the learning I've been able to do. I love, just sitting down at my laptop and typing for hours about all of these subjects. It really broadens your mind and gives you like a really good basis of, the world.
That's one of the things I love most about my job. I get to talk to people like you, learn how things happen, learn about why things happen in a ring, and then I get to tell the rest of the world that. So, I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. It's a way of learning history in another sense, and that's something I've always been drawn to as well. Have you ever been a video gamer?
Oh, I'm not.
You're not?
I've tried, like, while Steve plays Call of Duty to try. I'm not good at it. I've never been good at it. When like SmackDown versus Raw 2006 and 2007 came out, like I just had them because I was a big wrestling fan.
Yes.
and just like hit all the buttons, but I can't even play Guitar Hero. Like I can play on the controller, but I cannot play with the guitar.
You can play with the controller?
Yeah.
Oh, it's way harder. That's way harder.
Like do all of the mechanics of like tap the thing and hit this thing and press these. It's all too much. I lack that hand-eye coordination, I think.
Oh man. Well, Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory, October 21st, 2020, 24th, 2020. Deonna Purrazzo taking on Kylie Ray. And, of course, you can catch her every Tuesday on Access on Impact Wrestling. Let the people know where they can follow you on social media, when they can support what you're doing.
Yeah, everyone can follow me at Deonna Purrazzo on Twitter and on Instagram. My only accounts are verified. I feel silly that, like, every interview I, like, clarify that. At Deonna Purrazzo with a little check mark are my only accounts.
Well, I can tell you that's a good thing because you follow me on a couple of those, I'll get these random spam Deonna accounts that will message me and be like, "Thank you for being #1 fan." And I'm like, what? Like, why are you sitting?
There's a few messages that I get all the time, and like sporadically. I'll get like a ton at one time, then I say something about it, and then 3 months later I'll get a ton again of like, this Deonna Purrazzo was asking me for my bank account information, and it's like, I mean, you can buy
no, don't send
store.
it to that Deonna Purrazzo. Send it to me. This Deonna Purrazzo.
I always say I'm never going to ask you for bank account information. I'm never going to ask you to send me money unless I'm then shipping you something.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. Here with a name you know, because we try to interview her at least twice a year. There's always so much to talk about, and we're going to be talking about Impact Bound for Glory on October 23rd. Special start time, 10 p.m. Eastern. We've got one of the greatest knockouts champions of all time, Deonna Purrazzo. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Well, I feel like I don't need to ask how you are because I know, right?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing awesome. And I mean, I can't remember the last time we talked on camera. Maybe it was right before you signed with Impact officially. But I mean, things are so much different now than they were back then, like a year ago.
Yeah. It's been a crazy year.
I mean, you've accomplished quite a few things. You're now a 2-time knockouts champion. You are now cumulative days second only to, I believe, Gail Kim.
Yeah, that's insane.
My God, it's crazy because I mean we were joking about 0-20 about a year ago, and now here you are, and you are a lot of people's dream match right now. How does that feel after, I'm sure, a roller coaster year and a half, completely separate of wrestling, but especially with wrestling.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that I didn't really like have any goals when I started at Impact, or I didn't really know where I was gonna end up, or if I was going to wrestle, or I was just gonna, go back to teaching, or what I was going to do. But to kind of have been in that space, and now, almost 2 years later, be a dream match for someone, have all these incredible matches with legends from all over the world, and be a champ is really, really special to me, and just really cool.
And not only that, I mean, you're constantly in the ring. It's like you, Gail Kim, Mickey James, and people are looking at you as on their level or above their level. How does that make you feel after sort of the period that you went through ahead of coming to Impact?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to what Impact is capable of doing with talent, and when people have talent, and them giving them the ball and just saying, try things out, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and let's see who you are. Because the amount of in-ring promos and in-ring time that I've gotten over the last couple months is something that 2 years ago I was terrified of doing. So I think that Impact really just having the confidence in me and working to restore that confidence in myself has made all the difference. So I couldn't be in this position without them saying, just go for it and let's see what happens.
So, I like to solicit reader questions, right?
Yes.
I love to do that. I love to get reader questions from people.
Yeah.
And I think I got more for you than anybody ever.
Oh, wow.
Well, let's get started. I don't know who Steve M could be, but he wants to know your prediction for this weekend's Bound for Glory X Division Championship match.
Oh, so there might be another Steve M in that match. And my prediction
What a
is
coincidence.
Bizarre, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Steve Macklin causing mayhem all across the X Division at Bound for Glory and then thereafter.
We've got a Chelsea G from Canada that asks, why didn't VXT ever work out for you? Is it because you can't be a tag team just because you're best friends with someone? And also, how many times do you get Wawa chicken strips a week?
I definitely probably get Wawa chicken strips at least once a week. When I was traveling with another Chelsea G from Vancouver, BC, I was definitely getting chicken strips like 2 to 3 times a week. So I've cut back. And then, yeah, you can't be a tag team if you're only best friends with the person. And you need tag team continuity. But did you know that training with your partner would not give you continuity? So, I mean, yeah. That's why VXT didn't work out.
I can't wait.
We're too good of friends.
I can't wait to talk about that more later in this interview. But we have a Shaza from Australia who says, and it's weird that she'd be asking a question about someone with the same name as her. Will you please wrestle Shaza McKenzie? Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. I am going to reiterate that. I would love to wrestle a Shaza McKenzie from Australia.
You're going to have to dig a hole to Australia. She ain't never getting out of there. That's the rib. She ain't never getting out of there. And this one from an Uncle Dax says, is she interested in taking over Mexico with FTR? Well, I think you kind of already are, Deonna.
I think so. I think that just by me being the Reina de Reinas champion and them being the tag team champions now, we already are. But I would love to get together in Mexico for a AAA show and take over the entire show, but then take over the entire world with FTR.
And there's a lot of talks about forbidden doors and all that, and you've already stepped through one in AAA. And yeah. I don't think it's a secret. You and Britt Baker openly discuss possibly teaming together, possibly facing one another. Like, is this something that you all go to higher ups and personally pitch for? Like, hey, can we make this happen? We want it. People want it.
Yeah, I know that Britt and I have both done that. Went to Scott, went to Tony, and was like, when can we make this happen? But yeah, I just think it was a matter of time and when it would be right. And that's why I started saying, well, we should just be a tag team, because one of us has to lose the championship if we wrestle each other. But if we wrestle with each other against 2 other people, maybe at Impact Wrestling, where there's Knockouts Tag Team Champions, we can wrestle the champions and become tag team champions together. So that way it's the best of all worlds. No one is like the loser in that situation. We all win, right?
And another one of your friends, Chelsea Green, popped up in Impact. Is
Yeah.
that something that you're interested in pursuing with her even? And I'm very interested to learn, if not Chelsea or Britt, then who?
Ooh, no, I think it's Chelsea or Britt. I think that
How did I know that'd be your answer? Nobody.
nobody else. I just feel like those are legit my two real life best friends. They're the people I talk to all day, every single day. So I just think that that works. I think that those are the two people that I traveled the country with, that I shared hotel rooms with, that I shared cars with, that, you know, Chelsea lived with me at one point and, you know, was training to get back in the ring after she had an injury. So those are people that I've lived this whole life with. And I don't think that there's any better person I could have a better relationship with than those two. So I know that that's what, you know, doesn't make a tag team, right? But I think that having that dynamic and being able to finish each other's sentences and being able to know what each other are thinking or things like that really benefits having a tag team partner that can do that and then going for the gold because you can anticipate everyone's movements.
And I know for a while it looked like you all would be in different companies. I know she's in quite literally every company that's ever existed ever. But I mean, I see you all do Impact tapings together. I had heard she was supposed to pop up in AAA at one point around the time you were there. I saw you guys at like a convention this past weekend. I know you all are going to be at WrestleCade. Like, you don't just get to see your best friend in general. Like, when you go to work, you get to hang out with her an awful lot.
Yeah, and that's what makes work fun. I mean, we got to travel all weekend together this weekend. She lives 5 minutes down the street from me. So more than her being my best friend, I never had a sister. My relationship with Chelsea specifically is what I would liken to having a sister like. Just someone I spend every day with or talk to every day, can tell anything to. There's no judgment. And, you know, between her and Britt and myself, the success we've all seen in the last, 2 years, year has been amazing. And there's no one I'd wish better for than the two of them.
What a turn of fortunes over the last like 2 or 3 years. I mean, you all were all pretty well free agents a couple years ago and booked heavily on the indies. Now you're all still booked heavily, but separate ways. You mentioned making your job fun. I'll tell you what makes my job fun: watching people fight on a farm. That one's pretty fun. I am made of questions right now. First off, you ducked my media call question when I said, how did you convince a cameraman to follow you? But how
cash is king, right? You can pay someone enough to do most things.
That's a good point. But I mean, like, they are an accessory at that point if charges are pressed. I mean, I'm not exactly a law expert here, but I'm just so excited to hear about like how this came together and maybe the ideas tossed around. I mean, I would assume this was a pretty well, you do it straight through and hope for the best, but how does this even get brought to you?
Yeah, so actually this was something that we were going to do the tapings before the last tapings, and it just didn't work out. There wasn't enough time to do it. I mean, like, there's only so much crew, and you need to do it while there's a million other things taping and going on. So it didn't work out, 2 months ago, but we were able to get it done, last month at the tapings. And it's just fun because I feel like this story with Mickey is something that I haven't really gotten prior to this. And I haven't necessarily had a long drawn out storyline that I could really sink my teeth into and show a lot of character development, show a lot of range in. So when they said, you're going to, at first it was just going to be like a brawl in her house.
Sure.
Because it was going to be later at night. And, I just didn't want to be awake until 2 a.m. during taping. So I was like, well, there's this block in between, and can we try to do it during that? And then it just worked out. It was going to be during the day. And we were like, it should be on the farm. And it's just a one take pray it all goes well. And there was a lot of different ideas that we had, and there was so much space we could have used. But I think we were able to put the best product out there. And, I've said this a ton too, like these cinematic type things are really hit or miss. People really love them or they really hate them. And I was really nervous, as I am with most things, going out and seeing the reaction that people were going to have. And the fact that everyone really loved it and was like, oh, hell yeah, like, this is awesome. These ladies are going to kill each other. That was the vibe I really wanted.
You literally said you were going to kill her.
I said before we started filming, this is my Sopranos moment. This is my breakout actress moment. I'm going to, be in the revival of Many Saints of Newark, right? But I really wanted that feeling of like this she's going to kill her, because that was only going to help build the pay-per-view match at Bound for Glory even more. So I'm really, really thrilled with the reaction it got, how it's turned out, the story we're telling, and then the ultimate match we're going to have at Bound for Glory.
Have you even bothered to clean the white sneakers yet?
I did, actually. Oh, wow. I threw the bodysuit I had on, my jeans, and my white sneakers into just a plastic bag in my suitcase, and I washed them immediately when I got home, and I've worn the sneakers since.
See, I've seen like on the TikTok and Instagram that like dirty sneakers, worn out sneakers are like in right now. And I was like, oh my, she could be style queen over that one.
Wow. Okay. Well then I'm style queen, man.
So how long did it take you to film this? This is like, and this segment specifically got some of the most buzz I've seen for Impact in quite a while, which is really rad for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, maybe we were there for like 2.5 hours. Yeah, it was just a camera guy, a sound guy, and Jimmy Jacob from Creative at Impact. And me and Mickey Steve was there with us. And, we just kind of brainstormed, kind of like plotted out where we would be and what, the end of each kind of room would be and how we'd make our way through the whole thing. But it was just kind of in and out, get it done, and hope for the best. And
you mentioned Steve, like he has really breaking out with some great vignettes, like the one that dropped this past week. Oh my God. Like he's got such a unique, great delivery that quite frankly, 99% of wrestling fans had no idea because he never talked at the place he was last time. Are you all like interacting on a daily basis, giving each other tips, feedback on these promos, these vignettes, all this?
Yeah, absolutely. He especially is just like thinks about wrestling 24/7. And I swear this morning, like he's an early bird and I'm like a 10:30, 11 o'clock kind of person. So when he got back from the gym this morning and I was laying in bed, he was like, I was thinking like, I could say this in this promo and maybe cut this line. And I watched this clip and what do you think? And I'm like, I just opened my eyes, dude. Like he's so excited about what he's doing and what he wants to deliver and how he wants to deliver it. And it really is exciting for me because he's never gotten a chance to do any of this stuff. So Impact is a whole new world. I mean, independent wrestling for him is a whole new world. So to see his eyes light up, it's kind of like a kid on Christmas being like, there's so much I could do and so much I could play with. And I think he's even more excited to see when these things come out and see how people react to it. And him, he bet on himself too by saying like, I'm going to continue wrestling and figure it out. He kind of got the shit end of the stick, and he's made the best of it. So, Bound for Glory is super special for him because it's his first pay-per-view as a singles guy. And I'm excited for him.
I am too. He's been killing it. And I'm always so intrigued by your spot in like on any roster, but especially the Impact roster, because you're still so young. You're a baby by wrestling standards, but you've been wrestling for years. You've got this wealth of experience against a variety of people. I love that there was the callback, the Knockouts Knockdown. You wore the red gear, similar to the gear you wore in your first TV match, but you're also working with people of varying experience levels. Like, for example, you defended the Impact title against Mercedes Martinez. You worked with Lady Frost, who I heard might be popping up in Impact even more. Megan Bain several times outside of Impact. Masha, who got signed to Impact. Like, are they asking for your feedback or anything on any of these women? Because obviously Impact has reloaded. Like, they lost Kylie, Tessa, Taya in about a short span, and doesn't miss a beat. Here's the inspiration. Here's Deonna. Here's Chelsea. Are they asking for your input on these girls?
Yes and no. I think that because I've gotten a chance to work with so many people, whether it be coming in at Impact or on the independent scene, I definitely have the ability to say like, no, I think she's really good, or I do think there's potential there, or this is what it felt like being in the ring with that person.
Or you can bury them.
If I wanted to.
You could just bury them. That Chelsea Green's the shits. Get her out of here.
Hate her. Yeah, I think that if I felt strongly about someone, I definitely have the ability to be like, I think that this would be a good get, or I don't think that person would be a good get. But I think that, you know, Gail, who's in charge of our knockouts division, we have Madison Rain, who is wrestling but is also doing stuff behind the scenes. You know, they are Impact Knockouts legends. They were with this division since the beginning and in its creation. So, you know, they kind of have a really strong grasp on who they want and what they think would be really good for our division moving forward. So the rebuilding process, I think, has been easy. I think, you know, and everyone kind of knows the legacy that comes with being a knockout and being the knockouts champion, but we've really doubled down on that. I think, especially, you know, in the last year, and without, you know, taking advantage of the people being released and having the ability to come in and kind of have flexible schedules and work other places, and has really aided to the growth of our division and just getting it to be back on top as the #1 division in the world.
And I mentioned Knockouts Knockdown. I know you're a perfectionist about your work. Like I can, I think I've even said to you and Britt, I was like, I can tell why you guys are friends, because you all think that like everything you do, you're like, not good enough, not good enough. I asked about the Masha match, and you're like, I loved it. That has to feel good. And then for her to get a contract offer after that, that's got to feel doubly good, because you're helping reinforce this division. Did you know in the ring, like, oh, this is special chemistry here?
So Masha and I had wrestled at Beyond a couple months prior to that, and different dynamic. I was the babyface, she was the bad guy, and so it was a little bit of a different match. So going into this, knowing I would be wrestling Masha, I was kind of already like, okay, this could be really, really good. And then in the ring, I was like, holy crap, this is great. Like while I was in there, loved it. It was just kind of easy and flowed. And there's not a lot of people that I can be super technical with or do something like we got to do. So when we started with the test of strength and we held on to each other, things like that, I haven't gotten to do with a lot of people in a long time. So it was really fun for me to really get into that technical aspect of wrestling that maybe doesn't always work with other opponents that I've had at Impact. So I knew it was going to be really different, and hopefully it would stand out on the card. I had no idea that it would get the reception it did, or that she was going to be offered a contract. That was 100%, you know, Gail being the agent in the back, being like, we need her, and then going out there and offering her. So it felt really good to, you know, not that she's phenomenal. She didn't need me to get that opportunity and for them to see that in her, but for me to be a part of that is really special for me, especially being the girl who was the independent talent coming into 2 different knockdowns. I mean, like you said, it was my first TV match when I wrestled Brooke Tessmacher. It was my 8th professional wrestling match. Like, I was so in over my head. So to see these girls kind of live that, but then come out on top and really, really show their talent and that they're a star and they deserve to be a knockout, was really special and one of the coolest moments of my career thus far.
Deonna Purrazzo, I could talk to you about wrestling all day, but we'll have to save it for another time. Bound for Glory, October 23rd, Deonna Purrazzo, Mickie James, a dream match for the Impact Knockouts title. She'll also be at WrestleCade in November in Winston-Salem. So go stop by and say hi to Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was nice to talk to you on camera this time.
Yes, exactly. Until next time, guys, we're out. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com, here with a name you know. First time in person, though.
Yes.
Deonna
really?
Purrazzo, the virtuosa.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, things have changed an awful lot since the last time we talked. You don't have the title anymore.
It's fine. I'm on my way to getting it back.
Your feelings aren't hurt, not really.
Not at all.
Not really.
You win some, you lose some.
So,
and then you win some more.
Almost a year consecutive. Altogether, it was
over a year. You're like, what, the second longest reigning champion of all time, cumulative?
Yes, like 400 some odd days.
And you've only been there a year and a half. That has to feel good about like their confidence in you.
Yeah, I feel like when you leave WWE or other places and then, you know, you're trying to find where you're going to land, people have these like preconceived notions that you like have demands and want things, and I literally wanted nothing but a place that would pay me to wrestle. Like, I didn't come in asking for anything. I was like, let's just see what would happen. And I swear, when I was told I was going to win the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary, the first thing I said to Steve was like, it'll probably change. No, like, I'm not going to tell anyone else, because I didn't think it was actually going to happen. So for them to give me that right away and then just like let me roll with it for the last 18 months has been amazing.
What were some of those preconceived notions that you found that people had when you were hitting the indie circuit, which, I mean, the indie circuit was not new to you. You had navigated that heavily before then. You were so active already.
Yeah, I think people thought I was going to be asking for $1 million to wrestle. Also, we were like still in the thick of COVID, so there weren't a lot of indies running. So it was kind of just like, after my 90 days were up, I had to take what I could take, or what was out there. So I think people assume everyone's asking for a lot of money. I think people assume that they go in saying, I need a storyline with the champion, I need to win, and a lot of times they don't win. So I think it was even better that I went for the Knockouts Championship and won right away, because that really shocked a lot of people.
And obviously, people losing their jobs isn't a good thing, but now you have your best friend Chelsea, you have your boyfriend Steve, who is, they're navigating this with you. They're experiencing it, and they're both thriving as well. How has that been for you? And, like, did either one of them say, like, hey, what's up? How is this working now? Because Steve had been well removed from that scene for a long time.
Yeah, Steve, like, honestly never really, like, broke out on the indie scene prior to being signed to WWE in like 2014. He'd been wrestling for like 1 year. So I think for him it was more of an education process and a guiding process of like, okay, so now just come to Impact with me and meet some people and see what happens. And he didn't really go in looking for a job, but he came out with one, so that was awesome. It was, okay, get in touch with this guy to have music done so you can release music and work on t-shirt designs and just things that you don't have to worry about when you're in WWE. It's just kind of given to you. I was like, we have to create some buzz and get people interested in what your next steps are. So this is what I did. Let's try to replicate that for you.
So, I mean, it's also got to feel good to see him doing so well.
Yeah.
Like, I often compare it to, like, if Rhino in his prime was plopped down in the X Division. Like, that style is so different, it's so unique, and a lot of people never got the opportunity to see what he could do on the microphone, in vignettes, in the ring, and as somebody who has, I'm sure, watched every bit of his work over the last few years, you were well aware of that, and now it seems like it'd be like a told you type of thing.
Yeah, I would even go as far to say I wasn't well aware of that, because when I had met him, he was in a tag team with Weston Blake, Corey, his best friend, and like I had never seen what he could do as a singles competitor, because although we like grew up an hour from each other, we know all the same people from Jersey, we had never met.
Wow.
Like, we had never been around each other before WWE or until I came to NXT. So to kind of see him break out, and I say to him, Bound for Glory was his, like, breakout moment. Like, everyone saw, oh, shit, this is different than flipping and what the X Division is known for. It was kind of like a throwback to Samoa Joe in the X Division a little bit. So I've just been... I couldn't even tell you how proud I am of him, because he's taken this with stride, and he's went out there with a purpose to say, like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to show everyone what I could do on my own, because he never got the chance to do it.
So wrestling travel is brutal anyway. Does the fact that you all came from the same place originally, does that make it easier, like, to travel back?
Yes. Yeah.
I would say so.
So last weekend, or maybe it was 2 weekends ago now, there was the big event. And I had a friend from college who got married, so we were able to, like, do the wedding and then see my dad and see my stepmom, and then, like, be able to, if we wanted to go see his
parents. It felt like you all were everywhere. And, like, that short, I remember you all would post something, I was like, I thought they were there.
Yeah, but it makes it so much easier, because his parents are, 2 hours from my parents, and we could really make a full family trip when we go home.
So, as I mentioned, Impact Knockouts title, you lost it. It's a bummer, but I mean, the run that you had, especially as champion, and then like the surprise match with Thunder Rosa, then Mickie James, it's very clear that they were like, okay, we want to put people against her that are her level of competition, because you have been in such a prominent role for so long.
Yeah.
How are you adjusting now that isn't your role?
I think that I had 18 months of that role, and I was gone from TV for like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, and honestly, that was my idea. I was like, let me just disappear for a little bit and then come back, and like, if I had it my way, I wouldn't have a rematch. Like, I wanted it to be so dramatic and so like, I can't even stand the look of the Knockouts Championship without me. Like, there'll never be another Camelot. I really wanted that moment. Of course, they really wanted a rematch. Mickey and I have been telling such a great story. This is like my real first feud, so not being in that role I think is okay because I was in it for so long, and I really pushed over the year to have other people do other things. We had this crossover with AEW and NWA, and I really pushed for like, well, if it can't be me, let it be someone else.
Yeah.
And we have so many talented women on our roster that deserve to be in the spot that I was or in a similar spot that I am. So, it's nice to see other people getting that opportunity as well.
Did it disappoint you that there wasn't any female crossover in the AEW Impact thing, which seems to be shelved for now?
Yeah, I think I was a little disappointed because for me, there's a ton of dream matches and people that I haven't been in the ring with for years or have never been in the ring with prior. But you know what? I think Impact was kind of the hub of all of the crossover, and we got to do a lot of stuff with NWA. Obviously, my match with Melina was one of the headliners of Empower. So, as disappointing as it was, I have tried to look at the positives now. Instead of harping on what could have been, let's look at what was.
I mean, if you want to bury somebody or a company or anything.
I don't.
I've been trying to get people to bury people all day long, and I can't. It hasn't happened. Everybody's trying to be nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice today. I'm in a good mood.
What happened to the good old days of
the
Deonna?
Good old shoot interview.
Yeah, the shoot interview.
I'm trying to think of who I could say something, but that's my best friend. I could say nothing bad about her.
Come
I
on.
can say this. I can say actually, she flew from TV to Canada to see her family, and she was like, "I can't bring a bag full of merch. Could you pick up my merch bag at my house and bring it to North Carolina?" So I was like, "Yeah, of course." I go to pick up the bag. The bag doesn't have a handle.
Oh no!
Which she had told me ahead of time, but I forgot.
You've got it up like John Cena.
Yes, I'm
an
like
attitude
carrying
adjustment.
this bag, So I'll bury her for that, I guess. But I also would do anything for her, so I don't really care.
So, tag team titles, you and her, is that an aspiration in your future?
Absolutely. I think what's wild to both of us is that VXT was never a real thing.
Yes.
It was like a social media movement for like a hot second, but people want to see VXT.
Yeah.
People want to see us do meet and greets as VXT together. So I think that if there's ever a chance for us to reignite VXT and give the people what they want, but also see our vision come to life, going for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships would be that.
Now I know that after the Knockouts title match, like sort of adjusting things for you visually and gear and stuff like that was important to you.
Yeah.
What kind of steps are you taking there, or are you looking to do? Like, is it to differentiate yourself from that reign specifically, or just like to sort of define a new era?
I think maybe a bit of both. I think that the Virtuosa as if she was a real human being and she was me, I don't think I would wear any of the gear that I had as the champion. I think that in the Virtuosa's brain, it's like, I can't bear to put that on. Yeah. I'm something else completely now. And my life was a catastrophe heading to tapings, and my gear maker just never started my gear. So there's that.
Do you have that happen a lot?
No. Okay.
Because your pay-per-view gear has become like a thing. Like people know Deonna's got pay-per-view gear coming up.
Yes. So and as much as it's become a thing online, it's like a thing in my heart. Like I have distinct visions of what I want to look like. So I had someone, I sent them, I had a new drawing made up. It was edgy. It was like snakeskin and black and like very like the tie up in the chest, and it was meant to be complete opposite of maybe what the Virtuosa would wear. A little edgier. And yeah, they said we'll have it done, no problem. And then the day of just was like, sorry, we didn't do it.
So what goes through your head when that happens? Because do you have to get that gear like cleared by Impact and stuff?
No, okay. I don't. So I can wear whatever I want. I had a feeling this would happen, so I had texted Impact, one of our writers, and I had said like, how would you feel, and would there be space for the Virtuosa to like wear black jeans and a t-shirt and just, you know what I mean, really differentiate? And they were kind of like, I don't know. But then I wore it, and Gail and Scott and a whole bunch of people were like, wow, I love dark Deonna. Like, dark, mean, evil Deonna works.
It was different. It was different because we're so used to, like, everything bedazzled and shiny and, like, the pay-per-view gear.
Yeah.
that was a nice contrast.
And
I
that's
thought.
really what I wanted. I wanted to hit that home, but even just like with my mannerisms, like the Virtuosa is very like, here I am and look at me, and this Deonna is like, no, I'm freaking pissed, like, and I'm just here to kick ass.
Well, tell the people where they can find you on social media, Deonna.
Everyone can find me at Deonna Purrazzo on Twitter and on Instagram.
Check it out, guys. We always love having Deonna Purrazzo. Any excuse to have her on, we will have. Until next time, we're out.
Bye, guys.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful here with a name you know. We've interviewed her, I feel like at least once a year for like the last 4 or 5 years. We got Deonna Purrazzo here. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You've had, I was, let me tell you, I was happy last night when we filmed this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can talk about it.
Yeah.
You have held a championship almost the entire time you've been in Impact. Mm-hmm. One of those is the Ring of Honor Championship. You just got announced for your AEW debut next week. Yeah. Not only that, you've got Under Siege next weekend here in Northern Kentucky, the Cincinnati area. It's going to be a big week for you.
Yeah, it's been it'll be a big like 3 weeks because we just had Rebellion in Poughkeepsie where I wrestled Taya. We're here today and tomorrow for media. I fly right to Monterrey, Mexico for the Triple Mania pay-per-view, and then I'm home one day, go to Dynamite, and then home one day, and then we'll be back here for Under Siege. So yeah, I'm like the busiest person right now.
What an unreal travel schedule coming out. I mean, we're not done with the pandemic by any means, but coming out of a pandemic where everything was centralized in Florida and like you didn't really travel out of Florida, maybe Nashville here and there. How has that adjustment been for you?
I feel like we were traveling to Nashville pretty much throughout the whole pandemic just for no fans and empty arena stuff. So the travel wasn't as bad, but just like the last few months, it's like been you have the show Saturday, you get to the hotel so late, you sleep for 45 minutes, and I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore. Like, I'm not as young as I used to be, and I need my sleep. But it's exciting because like we've talked about for so long, you and I, the internet has talked about me wrestling Brit and debuting on AEW forever. So I just feel like the last couple months have been really full circle, and I'm booked and busy, so I can't complain.
So, I mean, there's like so much to kind of burrow into here. You were announced for your AEW debut. I think a lot of people kind of felt like it was probably going to come. You are the ROH Women's Champion. I don't know like what plans were in order before the acquisition. Is there any light you can shed sort of on that? Because I mean, a lot of people were just excited and happy that ROH and Impact were doing something together for the first time in a long time. Yeah,
it's been like a long process, way longer than I think anyone realizes, because back when I started with Impact, and it'll be 2 years the end of May, like 3 or 4 months later, they were like, Ring of Honor had reached out to me and was like, we're going to plan a women's tournament and a revamp of the women's division, and we want you to be a part of it. And then I was like, okay, well, I hadn't signed with Impact yet, but I had verbally committed to I will be as soon as everything goes through. So I can't say yes. I have to make sure it's okay with them, just out of good faith and all that. So we had Bobby Cruz and Delirious talking with Scott, and we just couldn't come to what worked best for everybody. Fast forward another year, same thing. Okay, we're doing the tournament. We want you involved somehow. And then it just got to the point where it was okay, Roxy had won the championship. This works best. Ring of Honor is closing, and we're not sure the future, but we'd like Deonna to kind of carry us through this unknown period, so that it worked out. But it's just it's been crazy because and you know that Ring of Honor is so close to my heart, and for better or for worse, this championship is I feel has always been meant to be mine. So to finally hold it and be it's real and it's getting the recognition it deserves, and we're carrying on that legacy is so important to me. But I would have loved to defend it like everyone wanted at Supercard, but obviously I am signed with Impact, so that always has to come first, and what my obligations are my priorities. So, but I think I win. I think debuting on Dynamite in a championship match is best case scenario for me.
I think everybody wins. I mean, you, like how you mentioned, Impact and ROH couldn't come to terms on how to use you collectively one year, but the next year they said, you know what, we can make this work.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a few years ago when I was talking to Davey Boy Smith Jr., and he was like, I really wanted to work Impact, and New Japan was like, no, absolutely not. And when he said why, they mentioned something that happened like 8 years before, 2 regimes before.
Right.
That doesn't happen like hardly ever anymore. Everybody is cohesive, and they realize, well, even if we cross these sort of promotional boundaries, it creates buzz for everybody, and you're crossing every promotional boundary right now.
Yeah.
Impact, you've carried that flag for so long now as one of their greatest knockouts champions, then to AAA, and now Ring of Honor, and then it's crossing over into AEW. When did you finally find out, yeah, I'm going to make my AEW debut?
It was before Supercard, where they were like, okay, it's just definitely not going to work out for Supercard, which was good because I had like gotten a really bad hematoma on my leg. Like,
Okay.
I thought my leg was broken.
How'd that happen?
I caught a dive, and the way we just landed, like my leg just bruised really bad. So I was really concerned with like, how am I going to wrestle 2 matches at 2 high-profile matches, Ring of Honor, AEW kind of debut, whatever this is going to be, and then go right to my Impact, our multiverse of matches
Which
show.
was a huge show. For
Yeah,
Impact.
and I was just like, oh my God, I can barely walk up the steps. How am I going to do this? So I think it worked out because I'm like 100%, I'm healed, I'm good. But right before that, Scott had called me and was like, okay, this is what Tony and I are thinking. Like, you'll wrestle Mercedes at this, and we'll figure out a date that works for everybody. And I was like, yeah. My answer was like, oh, absolutely, I win in that situation. So I've had to keep it a secret for a while, but I'm happy that like the response was so great and everyone seemed so excited. So
Wish you wouldn't have kept it a secret. wish you would have told somebody here. I'm saying.
Queen Stooge number 2.
I know,
I'm surprised
right?
I didn't.
Right? My gosh. I was going to get heat on the GCW crowd by saying that Chelsea got me booked there.
You should have.
I should have,
You
but
should have.
I got to save something for the second go around, you know what I
Exactly,
mean?
Yes, you need a reason to come back.
So the AEW thing is interesting because that is full circle, because I remember you were booked for All In. A lot of people remember you were booked for All In. And I know that you had told me that WWE said, well, if you want to work that, maybe this deal isn't here.
Yeah.
2020 hindsight, that WWE deal not only would have been there, they probably would have offered you significantly more money because there was a talent war going on. Impact wanted to sign everybody. ROH, AEW, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Fast forward another year, they barely used you. We joked about like the 0-20 thing.
Yeah.
And you got released, but now you are like belle of the ball in almost every company, and Impact has made it abundantly clear you are an important part of their roster. And not only that, an important part of multiple other rosters as a result.
Yeah.
Looking back on that decision to not do All In, how do you feel about it?
I am a real believer that everything happens for a reason. So I can't say like I wholeheartedly regret not doing it, because I think that the mindset I had in 2018 was like, shoot, I had been doing extra talent work for WWE and enhancement talent work for WWE for 3-4 years at that point, and they're finally saying yes. Like this, as a little kid, I didn't know what Impact was, or I didn't know what Ring of Honor was. It was like, I'm a WWE fan and I'm going to be a WWE diva at the time. So when they're finally saying yes, my dream is coming true, how do I say no to that? And if I do say no, we didn't know the landscape of what wrestling is in hindsight, so like maybe they will never say yes again. So I had to give it a try, but there is part of me that's like, oh, I regret it, because I mean, Britt and Chelsea are my best friends. I would have loved to share that moment with them, and they talk about it all the time, and I'm just like the loser in the corner, like, okay, fuck off. But like,
but now it seems like if you all were to do it now, it would be so much bigger. Like
Yes.
you three, like whether it be as a trios or a triple threat, because you all have gained fame in such different scenarios. Like Chelsea's hotter than she's ever been because of her indie stuff. You're hotter than you've ever been because of all these places that you're working in Impact. And Britt is the biggest thing in AEW right now. Like, and now it feels like it'd be bigger. Now, granted, your career is like one big full circle thing.
Yeah.
Taya last week, after like the way that you were sort of coronated and stamped like the woman in Impact Wrestling, I mean, I'm sure you would still want to be a part of that, but I mean, is part of you in your mind looking forward to, you know what, we can do this in the future and it's going to be real big?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like I've talked about that, a triple threat specifically being like my dream match where it's the three best friends. And yeah, we're just at different parts of our career. I think the three of us collectively had just only like started and didn't know who we were going to be. And I didn't know who the Virtuoso was. Britt wasn't DMD yet. You know, sure. Chelsea was still kind of the hot mess, but I think she was just coming out of it. So it was really like, we were babies. We were such babies at that time. And I think we're like women who know who they are and know who they want now and don't put up with the BS. So I think it would be 10 times better than maybe All In was now. But yeah, I regret it. But I think also too, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in without what happened in NXT and what's come of my time in Impact.
So I spoke to you in November, and that was around the time that you had dropped the Impact Knockouts Championship, and you're like, you know, I'm kind of liking not having a title for a little bit. I'm thinking that might be the route, and you've won 2 since then. So how are you feeling? Because I know that ROH win specifically meant a lot to you.
Yeah. You know what? I think I had the AAA rated A-rated championship when we said that. And, you know, it was kind of like, well, I don't really know what's happening, and I haven't really been asked to go back to Mexico and whatever. But because of mine and Mickey's stuff wrapping up and Mickey retaining the title, we were able to put more of a focus on that. So I think I also was able to take this like champ challenge as a way to like reinvent myself a little bit. And now I do standing moonsaults, and I'm cool and like.
I love it. And I do like on Twitter when you're like, look, guys, I can do this.
Yes. I get so much and not so much since, but like in the years prior of like, all you do is submissions. And well, yeah, that's the point. But like, no, I am athletic and I can do all the things, but I just choose not to, and it's up to me. But I really think that I've been able to like tap into something else by doing all of this, and you know, try new submissions and try more technical things, but also try more high fly things, and not feel like I'm boxed into one category. So it's been fun, and you know, maybe there's another championship I want. Who knows?
I love it. You got a new foreign object on your hand. Look at that. Congratulations to you and Steve Macklin. Breakout performance for him at Rebellion.
Yeah.
I saw that match and I was like, this is going to be the match. This is the one. And he has shown out so much since joining Impact.
Yeah.
Almost sort of parallel to you. A lot of people didn't quite know what you could do until Impact gave you that opportunity.
Yeah.
He's getting that opportunity with Impact. It's got to feel really good for somebody you love to be able to be like, I told all of you all. I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm probably like the proudest person of him, and I like try to sit at the monitor and watch, and I'm like, I've been asked a couple times today, but I just get a big smile on my face because it's like I watch him put his heart and soul out there, and he's reaping the benefits of it. And it's scary, and I went through it too of like, how are people going to perceive me, and will they like me, and do my ideas work, and will I be proving people wrong? And he's really been able to do that, and I feel like every match he goes out there and tries to have that breakout performance. We thought it was at Bound for Glory. It wasn't. We thought it was at Hard to Kill. It wasn't. We thought it was Rebellion. It probably still isn't. He just continues to evolve and want to go out there and try to kill himself. So I think that's what makes him unique, is like he's this bigger guy, but he's also willing to like do the crazy stuff and kill himself, but in a cool way.
I always say it's like if they took Rhino in his prime and they're like, here, can you do the X Division stuff for a while? And he goes like 100 miles an hour, but with like this masterful psychology and this need to make sense, because he still studies everything.
Yeah, he
like,
watches
everything.
so much wrestling, and like I'm like, turn it off. I don't want to come home and watch WrestleMania 3. And like you know, it's for me it's more like, okay, like I'm busy and doing a lot of indie stuff still and media tours, and I'm like, when I'm home I just want my solitude. But he just can't ever turn it off, and his brain goes and he talks a million miles a million things a minute. Like he just can't gather it all because he's so excited about all of the possibilities, and like, what could we do with my jacket, and maybe we could do this or that, and I got this drawn up, and I'm like, breathe, because you don't need another jacket.
He will for sure be like an agent or a producer. Like he is so good with that stuff.
Yeah.
And like little things like about footwork that I see him talk about that would go like a long ways in helping a lot of people. Like he's so smart. about that aspect of wrestling. You'll have a wedding date planned?
We do, November 10th, which is also the Marine Corps birthday. Thank you. So he's excited because it's double whammy for him. Like, it worked out because 2 of his groomsmen are still active Marines, so they kind of get that weekend of leave without having to request it. So it makes it easier for them to be there, and then they all get to celebrate and do their Marine thing.
We did Labor Day weekend and we did a Sunday. That way we wouldn't interfere with any of our wrestling friends' bookings on Saturday. Like, you got to.
It's funny how you do that.
I mean, generous people right here with our wedding. Our special days, and we catered it to other people.
Well, it's also a Thursday, and that's the thing. And my aunts and uncles, we just had our engagement party a couple weeks ago, and we're like, why a Thursday? And it's like, okay, so we have friends that work on Monday, and then we have friends that work on Friday, and we have friends that work on Wednesday. So what is the day that we could hope everyone could be there without having to be like, oh, I got to go to work? That's a Thursday.
And calling off their bookings and affecting their livelihoods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well. See, that's generous. I appreciate that. I admire
we just love all of our friends and family so much. We want you to be there.
Yeah. So as we film this, we are Northern Kentucky. Do you know the difference between Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati?
Well, Cincinnati is in Ohio. Northern Kentucky.
Technically, it's all Northern Kentucky at this point. But we are.
There's a river. Is there a river?
There's a river. Like, if we throw a rock over this building, we're gonna hit the river. That's how close you are to the river.
Oh wow.
Have you sightseen on the Kentucky side yet?
No. We got in late last night. I went to sleep, and here I am. So.
Well, there's one sight to see, and it's an aquarium. That's
okay.
about it.
I did see that on the board out front.
Yeah, it is an impressive aquarium, but like this area of Kentucky, it's Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, like the same area. Impact is running the Kentucky side, and I was talking to you before this about some of the challenges that were faced in Kentucky before that. When you're hitting these new markets, you told me you've never wrestled out here, which is mind-boggling because you've wrestled everywhere.
Yeah.
What do you know about the area, if anything?
I don't know anything. It's funny. Ross, actually, who sets up all our media stuff, was like, okay, so we could maybe do like a minor league hockey game, or we could go see the
Cyclones.
Cincinnati Reds. And I was like,
they're playing right now. You don't want to watch the Reds. They're terrible
well,
right
I'm
now.
like, okay, so is that a minor league baseball team? And he's like, no, Deonna, that...
See what I wanted to do.
I don't know anything.
I want to quiz like you and Moose about Cincinnati. Like that's what I want to do.
About Cincinnati.
I want to quiz you guys. What are the Reds short for? What's that name short for? It's not that offensive name of the football team. That's for sure.
Oh, okay, that's good.
It's the Red Stockings.
Red Stockings.
Red Stockings. Yeah.
Like stockings that people wear under.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Of course. What else?
Are you lying to me?
No,
Red stockings.
It's the Red Stockings.
Oh.
They were the Cincinnati Red Stockings.
That's interesting.
I mean, you were born where? Jersey?
Yeah.
So there's no baseball. I mean, I bet there's a bunch of minor league teams out there, probably like called like the Lobsters or something like that. Like minor league teams do weird names.
I went to Yankee games growing up, so.
So you haven't had any Cincinnati chili yet, then?
No, and I heard that's a famous thing here, but I have had Skyline chili before in Kentucky. So if it's that, then I've had it.
Have you had Gold Star before?
No.
Okay, good, because it's nowhere near as good. You gotta rock with Skyline.
Okay.
Their sauce is like a little bit sweeter.
Yes, that's what the guy who was here earlier said.
Yes, that is the delicacy in Kentucky. You make your chili sauce, you add a little bit of sugar, brown sugar to it or something like that. It makes it so much better. But like even like the northern Kentucky side of things is blowing up. Like there are suburbs popping up everywhere because it's getting so hard to drive in Cincinnati along the river. Because they were like, hey, let's put a football stadium and a baseball stadium and a concert venue where like WWE runs their shows right next door to each other. All three of them.
So there's so much traffic.
It's a nightmare to drive there. Kentucky side is the way to go. Listen, I love Cincinnati. It's a wonderful city. Kentucky side's the way to go.
Well, Kentucky side is where Impact's going, so you got to go there, right?
Under Siege. It'll be this weekend by the time this releases.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that because I said for years, like nothing came to Kentucky. And now it feels like Impact ran Louisville recently. They're running Newport recently. I know that you spent some time in Louisville. What was that like for you?
It was a dream come true. I had this like this dream life planned for myself when I was young, because OVW was WWE developmental, that I was going to go to OVW. I was going to train with Rip Rogers. I was also going to go to the University of Kentucky and be on their co-ed cheerleading team.
I live 10 minutes away from the University of Kentucky. Let's go. I interviewed Britt like five seconds away from there.
Oh, really? That was my dream. I was going to be the wrestler and the co-ed cheerleader, and I was going to win national championships and win the Divas Championship.
Listen, I'm just saying, both of us still have 4 years of NCAA eligibility.
It's true.
Let me walk onto the football team. I mean, come on. She can be a cheerleader.
Yeah, I could throw some people still.
Did Steve Macklin play?
He played football in high school and then tried the college thing. I think he walked.
He still got eligibility.
He still has eligibility. Yeah, I think he walked on, but after the Marine Corps, so he was like way older than everybody,
doesn't
and
matter.
he was like, I don't like this.
The eligibility. It's just the eligibility. And now with all the legalities and all the lawsuits going on, they can't hold us down. They can't keep us from it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was really special.
How many times did you hear Rip Rogers say the F word?
Oh, I couldn't even.
Oh my gosh. He called me to tell me he liked my work, and I thought he was mad at me because he said the F word so much. I was just flabbergasted. But
he's something else. I introduced Chelsea to him last 2 weekends ago in Indiana.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm sorry, in Indianapolis. We had that Squared Circle
Yeah.
Expo. And he walked over and was like, yelling at me, whatever. And I was like, Rip, have you ever met Chelsea before? And then I took him over, and she was like, wow, that is everything I expected him to be and way more.
He called me to tell me that he liked my catch wrestling coach, and I was like, are you sure? Because it sounds like you're mad at everybody right now, Rip.
He's awesome.
We got Impact Under Siege this Saturday here on the Kentucky side of the river. I'm so happy for that. We got Deonna Purrazzo. Anything else you want to let the people know? Where they can follow you, where they can support you, where they can support Impact Wrestling?
Everyone can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Deonna Purrazzo. Impact, if you don't follow them yet, their Twitter is at Impact Wrestling. And yeah, we're here in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati.
Northern Kentucky.
Northern
you know what? It's
Kentucky.
the same thing. We all claim one another up in this area.
Yeah.
I'm from Lexington, and I still claim the area.
Right. Well, that's like Jersey. If you're from one area in Jersey, and I'm from a small area, but I'm still from the whole freaking thing. So,
You're going to step outside. You're going to catch a home run ball from across the river. It's
from
not
the
gonna
Major League Baseball
Oh, my
team.
God. Ross Foreman just missed that shot. You know what? Listen, you could probably still pitch for the Reds right now. I'm just the Red Stockings. Guys, check out Impact Under Siege. Support this show. So bring it, throw it. So Impact Wrestling comes back to this area. I love the wrestling explosion in this geographical area. Until next time, guys, we're out. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross at Fightful. Here with a couple names you know. We've had the great pleasure of talking to them many times, but never together. And they're both on very similar paths for Impact Rebellion this weekend. We got Deonna Purrazzo going for the Impact Knockouts Championship again. It's the age of the virtuoso again. And we got Steve Macklin going for the Impact World Championship. If one of you doesn't win, which will it be? We'll start with Steve.
I think the odds are more in her favor just because she has been a champion. I haven't. I have a lot to prove, especially going against Kushida. I know. Thank you. I have a lot to prove, more to myself, if anything, just because this is one of those moments that I finally get to shine and prove to the world who I am. I think I've done that for 2 years of stacking bodies, like I like to say. And I get to prove to New Japan as well, going with Kushida, not just Impact. And I get to get my name out there more and the world to see me. And that's what I'm more excited for out of this, especially when I do win the Impact World title, which I know I'm going to. Is it the opponent that I wanted originally? No. I did want to beat the longest reigning Impact World Champion in history, but things happen in this business, and that'll be another story down the line.
And I'll give you an easy out here, because if you say he's less likely to lose, it's not because you necessarily have to be pinned, because there's a possibility that this is a triple threat match and all of a sudden, bam.
Well, it's also a possibility it's not a triple threat match.
Exactly.
So I have the odds are not in my favor in terms of not knowing what my match is going to be. Going in there, I'll only have, 3 days to prepare. And then, if it is a triple threat, I don't actually have to lose to lose. So I think the odds are in my husband's favor.
Jordan Grace is fresh off like of a bodybuilding competition.
That might be in my favor too, because Jordan Grace is on a rampage with food right now, and she's tweeted about it. So I don't know, she might not be in the best shape ever.
There you go. I mean, after she won a fitness competition, my God. And like you mentioned, another parallel, both of you aren't facing someone that you thought you might face recently, like Mickey. We don't know what's up with her. You were supposed to face Josh Alexander. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I think that he probably cowered away from you because he's still embarrassed that I beat him in a scooter race. Did you see that?
I did, and you mentioned it to me in our last interview too.
It wasn't even close.
No.
One of my shoes fell off, and I still beat him. It was one-sided. But now you got Kushida, who master of a double wrist lock. He calls it the hoverboard lock. Like, how does that switch up things for you? Because these are two categorically different performers, wrestlers, guys that you're facing now.
Both net technical, but then also you have Kushida, who's a super junior. He's been doing this for so long. He's renowned around the world for who he is and the name that he has. He has the high-flying background in him as well. And yes, the hoverboard. I did tap out. I like I said last night on Impact, I tapped out on purpose at Sacrifice just because why be prideful into something that gives me nothing in a match when now at not at Sacrifice, at Rebellion, I know what's on the line, and that's the Impact World title, and I know what I'm in for.
And as for you, I mean, these are two women that you're very familiar with. You've already had an extended history with Mickey and Jordan, although maybe not together. So this is a different possible angle for you.
Yeah, and I had said last night on Impact as well that Jordan Grace has never defeated the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, but the Virtuosa has never defeated Mickie James. So the dynamic here and who comes out the victor, if it is a three-way, is very interesting because it's going to be, unless Mickie pins Jordan, then we've seen that. But if Jordan beats me or if I beat Mickie, this is a first-time thing. This is history-making for the three of us in our dynamic. So I think that whichever way it swings, triple threat, singles match, it's interesting. Jordan Grace and I haven't even been in a singles match since our last, which was the first ever Knockouts Iron Man match. So I would love for it to be a singles match because she's my favorite opponent. She's one of my favorite people. And I just think that it's going to be very interesting if we get to revisit that, what we put out there and what that outcome ends up being.
You mentioned tapping out as we filmed this last night on Impact, but you haven't taken an L in a long time, like September, August, maybe if I'm remembering right. I mean, that's an awful lot of momentum, and it's very clear that, like, this wasn't something that Impact was just going to give to you. It's something that you had to prove to them, okay, you're the new guy coming in, let's see what he can do, and you've proven that nonstop. And not only that, you've gotten, like, the crowd has been behind you at certain points as well. How does that make you feel after the way that, like, you came in and the circumstances prior to that?
Well, the former champion said it best last night that when I came into Impact Wrestling, I had to kick down the doors. And I don't think I kicked down the doors. I breached down the doors, blew that son of a bitch open, and I took what I want. And that's just who I am. And she knows it because she was there the night that I got let go. I was like, well, here we go. This is my test, and this is my time to prove to the world of who I am and who Steve Macklin is. So it's just very gratifying for me just because I love this business, and I love wrestling. Of
course.
And that's the one thing is no matter what I do, I go out there and try to give it my all, and that's what I'm going to do at Rebellion. Sorry, I love this.
It's an important night.
Yes, this is a really important night for me just because it's now able to etch and technically never be forgotten again.
I've been asked. Go ahead.
It's funny too because so he got signed and Impact Wrestling had never seen him wrestle before, and Scott came up to him and was like, "Well, now at least we know you can work, kid." Steve literally had to be like, "I'm signed now, and here I'm showing you what I can do." You didn't know before. It was just word of mouth and people saying he's a good guy, he's a great worker, he needs an opportunity, he needs the right place. And he did, but it was funny because they didn't even know what he had to offer before they gave him the opportunity. So
absolutely. I know you've had the opportunity to team with Weston Blake again recently, and he's been through so much. He's an inspiration to be around. What's that been like, having that opportunity to team with him again?
That's the best. Yeah.
I'm trying. Listen, if I can get the Barbara Walters tears before your big title
it's
win.
Good for a heel to sit here and cry. I get emotional. But no, it's been, he's my brother. She knows it. He's my best friend. We don't hide anything from each other. We talk to each other. We text call. Every morning he's taking the kids to school. We're always FaceTiming and chatting. Working with him's the best. He's one of the best. He is one of the best wrestlers out there. And I hate that people don't know that. And one day, hopefully they get to. But if not, he's in a position now where he's possibly training the future of this business. I don't know if I can say that but yeah, I said it.
He said it.
So he's just in a position right now where he's going to be giving back into wrestling in a different way, which who better, because he's one of the absolute best, flawless in that ring, no wasted motions with him, and he's my brother, and working with him is it's the best. Who gets to work with their best friend?
I know.
I get to work with my best friend. I get to travel with my best friend. And then we even worked last night at Pro Wrestling Revolver in Dayton. And
Love Revolver.
That's the fun thing too of tagging. And Blake and I got to tag so long. And then last night, she doesn't really ever been a tag wrestler. Even with her in Chelsea, she'd come to me and be like, "Oh, what do you and Blake do?" I'm just like, "Oh, do this spot. Like, try this. Maybe this will work for you." So it's just fun to take the things that I've learned and then now pass it on to each other. That's where we just have the ebbs and flow in the house of just, hey, this worked, maybe this didn't work, and it's fun to have that dynamic just in life.
I've been asking everybody I've interviewed, who hit you the hardest in the ring, and when was it?
Jordan Grace.
How appropriate.
After our 30-minute Ironman knockouts Ironman match, whatever they called it, just the whole time. Jordan Grace is she doesn't know her own strength. She's so athletic. She can move so fast. She's such a powerhouse, and she just, I think, doesn't know it sometimes and gets a little carried away. But I know that when I get in the ring with Jordan Grace, I have to bring that same intensity, and it lets me rise up a little bit. So after that Ironman match, Steve was at the hotel, and I first of all, we didn't expect to have a 30-minute match. Yeah. We expected to have a 10-minute no DQ is what we went into tapings expecting. And then the night before, they were like, "Just kidding, we're gonna," which is awesome in hindsight because we made history, right? Yes. And I'm the first and the only Knockouts Ironman, right? But holy fuck, did it hurt? And I don't know what she got me with, probably everything, right? But I'm driving, and the red light by the hotel would not turn green fast enough for me that day. And I just wanted to get back to Steve. And oh my gosh, I was hysterical crying in the car of just I'm so beat up. And I've never been through that before in my life. So Jordan Grace, 30-minute Knockouts Ironman match.
How about yourself?
Recently, it's actually opposite. It was a multi-man match on TV. It was for a number one contendership for the X Division title and Black Taurus, but I was doing the movement.
Okay.
So I'm doing the dive through the ropes, and he's a thick guy.
Yes, he is.
Love him to death, very talented. And it was like hitting a brick wall. Normally when you hit somebody, there's a little give, you go to the ground together and try to, it was hitting a brick wall. So recently, that's probably the hardest, I hit him and I was hurt more, if that makes any sense.
It does.
But I guess the lucha style, and it's just, it was a fun match. Yeah, at least it caught me. Most people don't catch people now.
I'm thinking Kushita's going to have a little bit more give this weekend. Hopefully Jordan does as well.
I don't know. A lot is on the line. I think Impact has been making its mark now, selling out crowds, filling the houses again. Windsor, just up in Canada recently, was amazing, and now we're in Toronto for Rebellion. And I think we're all going to breathe, just because I think us as the underdog company, and that's how I feel Impact is treated. Everybody always kind of looks down on it, how are they still going? But that's just it. It's that underdog lifestyle.
Very excited for it.
Yeah, I just think to piggyback off what you said, the environment that Impact has had the last couple loops, and it's been sold out, and the crowds have been awesome. That makes us more intense. That makes us feel hell yeah, have to fucking bring it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't expect Jordan to be any lighter than normal, but that's okay because, like I said, it just when you're in the ring with someone of her caliber or anyone like a Black Taurus too, it just makes you rise up and say I'm gonna match you, and we're gonna go out there and kill it. And I know whether it's me or Jordan or me, Mickey and Jordan, whatever that dynamic is, the crowd is gonna get us through it, and it's gonna be fucking awesome.
Check it out this weekend, guys. Both of them in World Championship matches. We always appreciate you guys.
No,
never.
This is your first married couple too?
No. I mean, it has
maybe
married couple ever become the champions on the same night together.
Maybe Seth and Becky? Maybe. Were they married yet? I don't know.
Hunter and Stephanie.
No.
They had the titles together for sure. The McMahon Helmsley
we were
era.
About that last night, I was like, oh, we should be coming out to my time right now.
There you go. There you go. Jim Johnson's out there. You could get another version of it made.
What a song.
I know. It was great. It was really great. I wish you guys luck. Tune in, guys. Impact Rebellion. Of course, we're going to have a post show on Fightful. Until next time, guys, we're out.
NordVPN.com/Fightful makes my browsing experience better. Way better than yours if you don't use it. Why? Because I can block online trackers. I can block annoying pop-up ads and malware. I can browse safely, securely, wherever I am, even if I'm right here on all my devices. This laptop, actually this is a desktop. What am I saying? But this laptop right here, this phone right here, that router over there, the TV over there, all with NordVPN.com/Fightful. You can also save on pay-per-views. Maybe you want to check out AEW without commercials. Maybe you miss the old WWE network. Maybe you want to buy a big UFC pay-per-view with an overseas service at a much more affordable rate. NordVPN.com/Fightful not only has you covered, but when you get one of their plans, you're effectively going to save yourself money. And I'm going to save you some more. 4 months free on top of that deal and a 30-day money-back guarantee. NordVPN.com/Fightful.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since winning the Knockouts World Championship for the third time, it is the virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, joins us now. Deonna, congratulations and welcome to In the Week.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling after this victory?
I am beat to hell.
That was a hard-hitting affair with Jordynne Grace last night.
Yeah, it always is. Jordynne is the toughest opponent I've ever been in the ring with, and you like mentally prepare for that a little bit before you get in the ring. But that first forearm or that first slam is just like, whoo, here we go. And I'm feeling it this morning. It was a hard-fought victory last night at Rebellion.
Talk to me about the match. There is a certain amount of respect that you and Jordynne Grace have for each other. Referenced by after the match, you two shared a nice hug as she congratulated you winning the Knockouts World Championship. Talk to me about your relationship with Jordynne Grace in the ring and what that experience means to you when you get to work with her.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's been 3 years since Jordynne and I have shared a ring one-on-one together. And in that time, I think the expectation grew of what it would mean when we finally got to challenge each other again. We were like a pandemic rivalry. There were never any fans there. So I think that to revisit it at Rebellion, one of our biggest pay-per-views of the year, in Toronto, a sold-out crowd, and then we're the main event for the Knockouts World Championship, just like added to that pressure we felt. We both talked about it earlier of just like, there's expectation, and we just wanted to meet that expectation, and I think we did. But yeah, there's just this mutual respect in the ring for what we both do. We grew up together in wrestling, basically, all throughout the Northeast. Every weekend we were around each other. Being at Impact, she was one of the first people to like welcome me in and like take me in. And honestly, she's one of my greatest friends now. So there's that respect inside the ring and outside of it. And I think that's what makes it even more special is when you have that bond and then you get to show the world like that bond on screen and that you can beat the shit out of each other and it's fine. And you bring out the best in each other. I think that's what makes it special. And that's exactly what Jordynne Grace and I have together.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, who's on Deonna's list next? Who deserves an Impact Knockouts World Championship match with the Virtuosa?
At first I was going to say no one deserves it, but then I'm like, I'm a good girl. No, I'm interested to see who steps up. I am. I think that we've introduced new people like Jody Threat and Kylan King. Taylor Wilde is back making her mark with Kylan in the Coven. I would love to finally have a one-on-one match with Taylor Wilde. I don't know. I don't know who's next. I think a lot of people have a lot of work to do, and we'll just go from there.
Deonna, do you think Jordynne hits you harder because you're now 3-0 against her in Impact? Like the next time it's going to be possibly even harder because you got the sweep against her going for the fourth one.
Absolutely. Like I said, like competitiveness to what we do. And, of course, with the story we're telling, it's like, you've never beaten me, beat me if you can. And so much has changed in the last 3 years. So it was fun to play with that. And we did a bunch of callbacks last night to our match at Slam, and just to kind of like test what we can do and how many counters we can do with each other. And we know each other like the back of our hands. So, it was interesting to tell that story and just know, like, she's coming with all she has. So I need to step up too.
I want to go back to last Thursday when the world found out that Mickie James was not cleared to relinquish the title, and she did it in front of the empty audience, the empty arena, and you and Jordan are sitting up there watching this. Is that when you found out that Mickie was not going to be cleared, and what was going through your mind as you're watching her do this promo, leaving the title and the hat in the ring?
Yeah, that's when both Jordan and I found out. We were waiting, just like the rest of the world, to know what that match was going to be. And I think it was a bit of uncertainty, right? Leading into Mickie's announcement, and then only having, Friday, Saturday to prepare for this type of match, knowing that, again, there's just this pressure on us of we want to outdo ourselves and we want to do better. And Jordan wants to win, but I want to win, and all those things. So it was interesting to watch. I feel like, of course, with Mickie, it's always very dramatic. But that was her moment, and she took it, and we don't know what's next for Mickie. She kind of left it open-ended. She left the belt in the ring and just said, it's your time now. So I think we are all very interested. Myself, Jordan, the Impact Wrestling world is excited to know what that meant for Mickie James, what that means for her future. And then she never lost the Knockouts World Championship. So does that mean she's gunning for me? Is she the first person to want to challenge me? I don't know. So there's a lot of uncertainty.
We have a write-in question from Sean Ross Sapp, and we never take those, but he's asking, does Deonna think all of the advice... Should we? Do you think the advice that Sean gave you and Steve Macklin helped you win the titles last night?
What advice?
I'm glad we hit that.
Well, speaking, I will piggyback off that. Your husband, Steve Macklin, did win the Impact World title last night. So we have power couple at top. You mentioned Mickie James. We don't know what's next for her. We saw her husband, Nick Aldis, confront Steve Macklin. Is that something that could be brewing there with the two power couples here going after it?
Steve and I have always talked about we're not huge intergender wrestlers, but I think if there was a story and it made sense, it would be something we'd be open to. Right now, Impact does not allow us on screen together. We're not allowed to talk about each other. We do not exist in each other's world yet at Impact Wrestling. So I don't know that it'll be something that happens, but I think that it makes a lot of sense. And if it was something that was brought to the table, I think Steve and I would be absolutely open to it.
Are there any other power couples in Impact Wrestling that you think about and immediately say, "Oh, I gotta talk about that. I gotta get in on them. I gotta wrestle them"?
I don't know. I think that before Josh Alexander was injured, well, even when he gave up the title and Steve kind of confronted him and Jade and Jet all at once, I think that to wrestle them and kind of like, obviously if Steve keeps the title long enough and Josh is healthy, Josh is coming for Steve. So does Jen come for Steve too? Because Steve made it really personal. And then do I need to step in? I think that would be fun.
I love it.
You mentioned that you and Steve will talk about each other on television. Is that your decision or is that an Impact call?
That's an Impact call. And okay. Because I just kind of turned babyface. I'm a good guy. Steve is super, super bad, right? Like, no one likes Steve Macklin. So it's just those lines and Impact can't be blurred. And especially with Steve becoming world champion and getting the opportunities he's gotten. I just think it's really important right now to make sure that he's getting the reactions that they need from him. He's keeping up that persona. And Steve Macklin, Steve Kubrick in real life, my husband, is the complete opposite of what we see on TV every week. He's a legit teddy bear. So I think that it would just take that edge off of him, and we're not ready for that.
We got a super chat here from JJ that actually asked a really great question. It says, congrats, Deonna, on hell of a match with Jordan Grace. Power couples on top of Impact as champions. How is this title run going to be different from your previous reigns? As you just mentioned, you're on a different side of the fence now as Impact Knockouts champion, and you're, as you said, a good guy. So what changes now?
Yeah, I think everything changes. I think that before being the champion in my previous 2 reigns, I still had a chip on my shoulder, and I still wanted to prove like I am everything I said I am. I was, you know what I mean, and I'm worth it. And I was still building my own confidence. There was a lot like going on internally while I was developing over those reigns. And I think what's different about this one is I know who I am, and I know what I'm worth. I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not holding on to the championship to define me. You know what I mean? I'm now defining the championship, and I'm saying like, earlier I was like, no one deserves it, but really, if anyone works their butt off and steps up the way I got to step up over the last few months, then come and challenge me, and may the best woman take it from me. That's the difference. Last time it was like, I don't need to wrestle. This time it's like, I'm the greatest technical wrestler in the world. Come for it.
We had a big announcement from Impact last night. New Japan Impact Multiverse 2. You were part of Multiverse 1. That's how you got into this match here at Rebellion. Assuming we're going to hope you're still the champion come Multiverse 2. Any options you're looking at on the New Japan side of things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first person everyone thinks about is Mercedes Moné. That is a dream match of mine for years now. So I think if that is an opportunity, I would be remiss not to be like, yes, that's what I want. That's what I need. So I don't know. But she hasn't had the championship match with Mayu yet. Hey?
No, that's this Sunday.
Exactly. If Mayu wins, I've been in the match with Mayu. Mayu beat me at Ring of Honor to challenge for the then Woman of Honor Women's Championship. So there's some history there that could be really fun to revisit if Mayu ends up defeating Mercedes.
So talking about that Multiverse United match, the 4-way, in that match is Giselle Shaw, someone with whom you have had a plethora of experience working with over the years. I host the Impact Wrestling Post Show on Fightful, and myself and my co-host Cresta Star have talked about the vast improvements in Giselle Shaw's wrestling game. You've seen it. Number one, can you just talk to me about working with someone like Giselle Shaw, or even working with talent who are maybe newer and getting more and more accustomed to working a style like your own even?
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with someone last night before I wrestled of, just kind of feeling like I'm a little bit lost and character work isn't maybe my biggest thing, and I'm trying to work to my size, and, and I just said, you have to trust, right? You have to trust that the people putting you in these situations, who's ever doing the creative is putting you in these situations because you can handle them. And I think that specifically with Giselle, who over the last almost 2 years since she's been with Impact Wrestling, has gone through a ton of ebbs and flows. She debuted as a single star, did some stuff with Lady Frost, then was kind of thrown in the mix with all these different tag teams. People left, then she didn't have her tag team. And I think she had a really rough start in terms of getting her feet into something and digging in. So to kind of see her flourish, and I mean, we've all followed her story. She had an amazing diary that was put out to show the world this is who I am. And I really feel like coming out, having her story out there has exemplified what she does in the ring. She is confident. She goes out there. She knows exactly who she is, and she just oozes this aura, this larger than life star. And it's all come together over the last, 6 months. I think that the in-ring ability, which she's always had, and now that just I am who I am, and I'm living my best life and my most authentic life, and take it or leave it, is the attitude that she brings in life and to the ring. And that was, I think, for me, what was missing. And now that she has it, I think the possibilities are endless for Giselle.
Dan, before we wrap up, I got to ask a one non-wrestling thing, because I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. I know you're a challenge fan. Who from the challenge world would you pick as your partner, whether in wrestling or in in a challenge, if you were ever on the challenge?
Ooh, I would pick CT. 100%.
Yeah, good pick.
That is I loved him. Obviously, I watched the show growing up, right? And he was just my number one. He's a beast. That video of him like backpacking Johnny from like however long ago, that's my first memory, right? I still think about it. Yeah, hands down, I would win if CT was my partner.
There we go. Thank you. I've been wanting to ask you that for the longest time. I know you do a lot of media interviews. Like, can someone ask Deonna a challenge question for the love of God?
Don't
so
tell
I
me.
had to. I had to ask. Thank you for answering that.
Okay. I've been asking a lot of wrestlers this question. I think it's important that as we understand that professional wrestlers have a very strange lifestyle in that there's a lot of road, there's a lot of just different places all the time. I like to ask about mental health. I like to ask about what keeps a wrestler grounded, what keeps you grounded while you're on the road, especially for long stretches of time.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think I was necessarily in tune with my mental health until the last like 3 or 4 months. And I think what's grounded me the most, number one, is having Steve with me. I just have been like dealing with like panic attacks and anxiety, and having Steve here and knowing like, okay, this could happen at any moment. I don't have any control of when I'm going to feel panic and start an attack comes on, but knowing he can be with me and knowing like he knows how to handle this, and we've dealt with this at home, and just having him here is like a really big comfort for me while I've been going through all of this. So that's my number one, having someone I can talk to openly and honestly with about whatever I'm feeling or whatever I'm going through, has really changed my perspective so much over the last couple months. But then on top of that, just with wrestling as a whole, I think I'm a college student and I'm almost done, but I think having that outlet of, I could turn wrestling off, turn my computer on, and dive into something completely different that doesn't relate to wrestling in any way, shape, or form has really like dialed me back, especially since leaving NXT. When I got released, I went right back to school. And I think that was probably one of the best things for my mental health, was I was so consumed with wrestling, and I was like, I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't get out of this bubble. And I really had to force myself to like sit down, put the phone down, open the laptop, and do the work. And eventually it'll pay off in a really cool life goal that I've always wanted. So I think that having hobbies outside of this, as well as being able to travel with my husband and my best friend, has really grounded me all over again.
Jeremy, do you have anything left to add?
No, we appreciate it, Deonna. Congratulations again on winning the Impact Knockouts Championship for a third time. Congratulations to Steve on winning the Impact World title. Let everybody know where they can find you at, what you got coming up. I know Impact, the Fallout from Rebellion tapings are tonight in Toronto, but let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, everyone can follow me at Deonna Purrazzo on Twitter and Instagram.
Wonderful.
There you go.
3-time Knockouts World Champion Deonna Purrazzo. Thank you for your time. Congratulations again, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, Deonna. Take care.
What's up, you guys? Sean Rossap, Fightful, here at WrestleCade in North Carolina, with a name you know. Man, we've interviewed you so many times, Deonna Purrazzo. I just wish you would do something worth talking. You know what I mean?
Well.
We never have anything worth talking about, right?
No.
Here we are.
What can you do? You win some, you lose some.
What is that?
You win some, you lose some.
That's true. But we are perhaps days away as this releases from, I don't know, maybe you've re-signed by then.
Maybe.
A lot of stuff going on, but I gotta ask the thing, like, how are you feeling about your future? Because it's been a while since you've been a free agent.
It has. I feel really confident, I guess is a good way to put it. I feel like, the last time we talked about anything contract related with me, I was in a really weird place. I had just been released from NXT. I wasn't sure what my future held. And in the course of the last almost 4 years since that conversation, I feel like I've done a lot of career rehab. I've been able to obviously become a 5-time world champion. I've been able to work with obviously Impact, but AAA, AEW, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And
became an ROH champion during this time. Reina de Reina's champion as well. Like, you, not only since signing with Impact, now TNA,
did you do great things there, you did great things in ROH and AAA as well.
Yeah, it's been incredible. So I feel like everything I've been able to do over the last 3.5 years has put me in a really great position to have some really great conversations with a lot of different people, and I feel really confident going into the new year.
Now, the thing that you'll always see on Twitter, because so many people on Twitter see things in black and white, they go, oh, well, her husband's in TNA. And then they'll go, but her best friend's in WWE. And then somebody else will chime in and say, no, her best friend's in AEW. So first off, here's what I'll ask.
Rivalry for who's my best friend.
Here's what I'll ask.
Yeah.
Which one's your best friend?
Ooh, they're both my best friend. They're both my best friend in two different ways.
I mentioned 3 people, and she said they're both my best friend. So who is the odd one out?
All 3 are my best friend. I changed my answer.
You can't have a faction of best friends.
Yes, I can.
Trent and Chuck are best friends. Everybody else is like associated.
Okay,
with
then
them.
it's just Steve's got to be my best friend, I guess. It's gotta
Okay,
be Steve.
shots fired. So the headline is Deonna Purrazzo, Chelsea Green, and Britt Baker are no longer my best friends.
Oh, don't make that the headline.
That is going to be the headline.
Anyway, so to answer your question, like I said, there's a lot of really great options. Being with your husband is fun. As I've gotten older, had a little bit more travel anxiety. So being with him over the last, 2 years at Impact has been good for my soul. But I think that seeing what else is out there and exploring some other opportunities wouldn't be bad as well.
I believe I was your first interview after you left WWE.
Yes.
And we joked about you being like 0-20 or something. And then you went to Impact and immediately became a main eventer.
Yes.
And proved that you could main event, that a lot of people, honestly, you were who we thought you were in that situation.
Yeah.
And you did that then without a contract. They put the title on you without a contract. So when it came time for you to sign, how did you feel about that? They very clearly saw it in you that so many others saw.
When I got and Impact got a lot of shit for that, but honestly, it was my choice. I had come out of a contract with Ring of Honor that I was not happy with. Went to NXT, was very unhappy at NXT. So going into this new whatever it was going to be with Impact, I was very hesitant of like, do I want to be locked down? Do I want to wrestle anymore? Like, I don't know that any place is a good fit for me. So let's just start the relationship a little trepidatious and go from there. So it was 100% of me, like I'm not ready to sign a contract, but then it came down to, now you're the champion, we need to lock something in. But at that point I had been with Impact for 5 months and felt so confident that like, this feels like home, this is a really great place for me, and I had no issues at all signing the contract then.
I always hear about how good the locker room is. I hear about how happy people are to be there.
Yeah.
You and I were talking earlier about how everybody seemed to like CM Punk there. CM Punk had a good time when he strolled by there. How has that been for you? Like, we see you all doing TikTok videos, like you, Giselle, Trinity, Jordan. What is that experience like? And I mean, is that something that you weigh when something like this comes up?
Absolutely. And even just to know that I could be leaving has been really sad for me, because I do feel like I have a family. I do feel like the locker room is the best locker room I've ever been a part of. And yeah, you see us, what you see behind the scenes is genuine. Like, we are having fun doing TikToks. We are having, they threw me and Steve like a little pre-wedding celebration. We throw birthday parties. We throw baby showers. We throw for Bound for Glory, we put together a whole like grazing table just for fun to show each other we appreciate each other and we love each other. And that definitely is something that has to weigh on where you go next or what you do next, because you're not always going to have that. And I think what Impact has been able to cultivate is really special.
I loved that, I loved because it's no longer a thing, your online or your on-screen alliance with Tasha Steelz.
Yeah.
I think she's just a phenomenal performer, and she's somebody that a lot of people didn't realize that you had such rich history with. From years later. What was that like working on screen with her?
That has been something that they kept telling us, like, we don't want to tell that story yet. We don't want to tell that story yet. And, as I was like, I don't know what my future holds, but if I am going to wrap up here, I would really like to finally tell the story. And they gave it to us. It was short, just because what the film schedule had to be like and the production advances they're making. And it kind of, I think, took away from the story we could have told. I think there was so much more we could have done. But to even just have that one match with her, for them to put our history out there, and, like, we fought to have while she made her entrance, they put a little blurb of pictures of us, and it was like, there's more to this story we're not going to be able to tell. So can we tell it in pictures? Can we tell it in a social media thing? Like, it was really, really special for both of us. And then, for her to obviously go over, because I won quite a bit while it was an Impact, so that's a feat in itself. And in the way she did with the stunners and stuff, not the stunners, the RKOs.
Yes.
It was just really special, and I was really proud to be able to like pass the torch in that way to someone who I believe so much in, and I trained, so it was really cool.
So we had mentioned how you've had the opportunity to work a lot of places. That's got to be useful come free agency time. You've done stuff with ROH, which granted is under the AEW banner, but you did stuff there.
Yeah.
You've been in WWE, you've been in NXT, you've been in Impact, you've been in Mexico, you've been in Japan. In fact, you did an article for us about your experience in Japan.
Yeah.
You have experience everywhere. You also have this ability to where if you wanted to, you said, maybe I just want to do independent dates. You could draw on the independents as well.
Yeah.
Like, what is your mindset going into all this? I mean, this is a huge decision for you.
Yeah, and it's scary, again, because there's just so many factors to weigh of being with Steve, being in an environment that I'm used to and I'm comfortable in, and I kind of, at Impact, like, can't do anything wrong. Like, no one's going to, I know kind of, not that I have all the power, but I know how I could leverage some things there. I'm in a really great position. Scott and I have a great relationship. And to leave all that behind would be very scary, but I also think that's how we grow as humans, right? We have to say, I've succeeded here. I've been at a top level here for now. The entire time I've been here. Is it time to go somewhere else? If this was the territory days, right, now would be the time to go and tell stories elsewhere. So I have to weigh that too. I'm really excited. And like I said earlier, the experiences I've had throughout my entire career, but specifically the last 4 years, have really allowed me to have conversations I didn't think I would ever be able to have with people ever again. I wasn't welcome in a lot of places when I left WWE, if we're honest. So to be able to talk to those people that I've been able to talk to has really been settling for my soul. And I just know that, like, I am wanted, and time heals all wounds, and that feels really good.
I'm very excited. I think that 2024 is going to be the most interesting free agent year in pro wrestling history.
There's a lot of us.
There's a lot of you. WWE in 2019, they're like, this AEW thing is starting, 5-year deals, everybody.
Yeah.
They've got new media deals coming up. They're under new, a merger, so who knows how the money will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Impact is now TNA.
Yeah.
AEW's media deal is coming up. How will that affect things? And then when people go to one place, that opens up spots elsewhere. You got Will Ospreay moving to AEW. That frees up a big budget for New Japan.
Absolutely.
New Japan Strong is a thing now where women are wrestling regularly for New Japan as well.
And in main events,
In main events.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
There's a lot of things going on.
I'm excited for your 2024, Deonna Purrazzo.
Thank you so much. I am too. Wish me luck.
I do wish you luck. I wish you the best luck.
Thank you.
Tell the people where they can find you, where they can support you.
Yeah, everyone could follow me at Deonna Purrazzo on Twitter and Instagram.
Until next time, guys, we're out. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. Welcome. We're here with a name you know. How could you not know her? We were just talking off screen about how Deonna Purrazzo might be our most frequent guest here on Fightful. Deonna, I believe this is our 9th interview and your 10th interview at Fightful overall.
That's crazy. I said earlier, I wear it like a badge of honor. I've dealt with you this long.
You have. Not only that, you might be the person I've interviewed in person the most too. Like, you and Steve are neck and neck because we always end up in like the same places and the same events. But one of those events that we are going to end up at the same place, same time, March 3rd, Greensboro Coliseum, AEW Revolution. Just a few months after we did an interview where you were declaring your free agency, you were in a world championship match with Timeless Tony Storm. How are you feeling right now? Because is this the biggest crowd that you will have performed in front of?
Definitely one of them. I wrestled like Triple Mania a few times, and there was in the tens of thousands, so I'm not quite sure, but I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm scared, all of the emotions, because although it might be right up there with the biggest crowds I've wrestled in front of. It's like the biggest moment of my career. This is the biggest platform that I've been given. And that's what makes it just this combination of like nervous energy that I have right now.
So a lot of people, of course, they know about your close relationship with Chelsea and Britt, well documented. There were a lot of people that were sort of caught by surprise at how close you and Tony have been in the past. And that nice reaction when you revealed the tattoo and she revealed hers. This is sort of a bit of a lost story that a lot of people didn't know because it wasn't at the forefront of social media. How did that come together? Because I mean, it's really played very well into what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like the minute I came in, this was the idea. You and Tony are going to do something. And I think that, you know, people that pitched that idea and maybe were writing some of the stuff for us didn't even know that, hey, we have these matching tattoos. We should do something with this. So it's been really fun for Tony and I to like drop little bits of our relationship outside of work. And, you know, she's not a big social media presence. So a lot of our friendship in the past has just kind of been between us and offline, and it's been really fun and interesting, and to see the reaction of people to be like, oh wow, like, yeah, we knew they were in Stardom together, but we didn't know to what extent they were friends. And the tattoo just was like the cherry on top of all of it. Like, we have this tangible evidence to prove our friendship to each other. Let's use that.
Tony has said, and I quote, she was going to give you a labioplasty as well as punch you right in the box. Yeah. Is it ever difficult to not crack up at the things that she is saying to you because they are so ludicrous? Our Fightful 2023 promo of the year winner, by the way, Toni Storm. So she's pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's okay for me to laugh because it is ludicrous. It is delusional. Yeah. She's crazy. This version of Toni Storm isn't who my friend was. So although it is actually really hard to not crack up, I think it's warranted in these situations where I'm like, who are you and what are you saying and who talks like this? Not my friend. And so it makes it easier to get away with my little chuckles.
So somebody who is your friend, I mentioned earlier, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. In that other company, you had Chelsea Green there as well. And I know you saw all the social media discourse, people saying, oh, no, she's going to stay in TNA because Steve is there. Oh, no, she's going to go hang out in WWE because Chelsea's there. No, she's going to go to AEW because Britt's there. As it turns out, you're a pretty successful woman. You're going to make your own decision. But did you have any of them nudging you in a particular way? Did you have anybody sort of courting you in that regard?
No, I think everyone, they're my friends and my family. So they just want what's best for me. They want where I'm going to be happy, where I'm going to be the most successful, where I'm going to make the best business decisions for me. And I think that it would have been great to be with Chelsea. It would have been great to still be with Steve. But I had to come to the place where I thought my next best steps were. And I think that at the end of the day, everyone was just happy that I got to make that choice for me. And those doors were open for me to make that choice. And I think it's worked out very well since.
Ahead of our last interview, you had even said, like, off camera, you're like, wouldn't mind ending up in AEW. You did, and it's worked out famously for you because within a few months, you are in a world title match at one of AEW's biggest shows that they've ever done. Sting is retiring on this show. You just got an incredible lineup here. How does that feel? Is it validating to you immediately that you weren't just thrown by the wayside? You weren't just disregarded. You weren't treated as somebody who was coming in from somewhere else. We'll figure out what to do with her. You were immediately propelled into a world championship match.
Yeah, 100% validating. I think that if you could like drum up a perfect scenario, this is what it is, right? You come in, you debut in your hometown with your family there, and then you're thrown right into a world title picture, and you have such an interesting story to tell. This has been, like I've said it, it's a fairy tale for me right now of just hitting everything that I wanted to do. I wanted to come into AEW. That was where I saw myself. And then, you know, I'm a multi-time world champion outside of AEW. I can see myself as the AEW Women's World Champion. So to be put in that spot, it's a testament to what Tony Khan thought of me. And you know, the work that Tony and I have done has been a testament to my talent and what I thought of myself and proving myself right and betting on myself. And now it's just down to getting the job done at the pay-per-view.
How often, when having conversations, do you have to clarify, no, that Tony? Because there's Tony Schiavone, Tony Khan, Tony Storm. And when I'm talking to people in AEW, they'll have talked about Tony Storm. And I'm like, really? Tony Khan said that? And they're like, no, Tony Storm.
All of the time. When I come home and I say it to Steve, I'm like, okay, TK, Tony, and then Tony
There you
Storm,
go.
Tony.
So, again, there's a lot of changes that are happening with you in AEW. And somebody had mentioned to me that you had said, like, you know, this is one of my first times traveling on the road for a TV show, because when you did the indies, obviously, very successfully, but you had done ROH in the past here and there. You'd done WWE, but that was at the PC and during the pandemic. So you're there.
Yeah.
TNA is a much different taping schedule. How has that adjustment been for you? Because that's something that when I was told that, I was like, oh my God, it would be the first time.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I've just been around for so long and done so much up until this point that people forget. Like, my first match on Collision with Red Velvet was, like, my first live television match in years. Probably since the last time I appeared in AEW when I wrestled Mercedes Martinez for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. So it's like a whole new world, and it's been an adjustment to have work, but then also figure out like what my personal life looks like and what, you know, being at home looks like, and readjusting to the schedule of being gone for, you know, a Tuesday night, a Wednesday, and then half of Thursday. But you know, this is what we dream of. When I said I wanted to be a wrestler, this is what I dreamt of. I'm going to be on the road for, you know, 250 days a year. I'm going to be traveling and all these things. So I think after 12 years, to finally get to be doing this is, again, it's a fairy tale. It's my dream come true.
I think a nice example of what you've done, you faced Madison Rayne this past week, and I think I had tweeted that you faced her in TNA, ROH, the Indies, and now AEW.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the process of negotiating your AEW deal and coming in. Like, who reaches out to you? Who makes that contact? And like, how long does it take you to get a deal like that done?
Yeah. So first I had reached out to Sanjay, and I was like, you know, my contract's coming up. I'm about 90 days out. I will be free as of January 1st. So I'd love to talk if there's any interest in having me. Let me know what those next steps look like. And we went back and forth a little bit. And then, you know, of course, Britt did know that these conversations were happening. And then I got put in touch with Tony Khan. So then we talked directly, like the beginning of December, and we hopped on a Zoom call, and then it was kind of like, it felt like it was a done deal, but of course you never know until it actually is. And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 weeks later, right after Christmas, that I got the contract to review and kind of went back and forth about some stuff that were in it, and got some things changed, and we were both happy at the end of the day. And it was, I think it got signed like December 31st or something like that to start whenever.
I mean, and again, it's worked out so well for you. I think you haven't lost a match this year. I think you're like 7-0 as of right now. And one of the things I liked about when you came into Impact Wrestling, they immediately treated you like a top star, and did throughout the entirety of that. And that is sort of a she is who we all thought she was type of situation, because you delivered at that level. You were given the ball and you ran with it. Now you're doing that again. How does this feel in comparison to that? Because we had mentioned in NXT, they never really did give you that ball. Mm-hmm. These two companies, they sort of have. How would you compare those two as you're still early in this AEW run?
Yeah, I think I was able to come into Impact, and it was still the pandemic, so there wasn't fans, and it very much lent towards forgiveness in terms of like, if I didn't like something that happened in the ring, or I didn't like the way I sounded, it was very easy to stop and ask to redo it. And although I didn't do that often, that possibility was there. We did a lot more in Impact, now TNA, with social media and things like that, I was able to have a little bit of grace while I was growing into the role that they were giving me. Now, fast forward, I'm thrust into this new environment. I'm adjusting to all of the things that come with it. And then, there is so many more eyes on me on a weekly basis. The thing with Impact was a lot of people didn't know where to watch it. A lot of people didn't know how to watch it. Here, we are on a national cable network every single week, no matter what show I'm on, and there's so many more eyes on me, which means there's so much more chatter about me, whether it's positive or negative. So I just feel a ton more pressure to constantly go out there and put my best foot forward to warrant the position that I've been given, because I understand that I'm very lucky for that. But then also, just like, I bet on myself time and time again. It might have been an easier route to stay in Impact, where I was comfortable, where I knew everyone and I knew the position that I was in, but you grow in uncomfortability, right? And that's what I think that I've been able to do over the last 2 months, is take this situation that I'm growing in, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. I'm trying to do my best and put my best foot forward, but I'm growing and I'm learning about myself, and that's what's most exciting to me.
So I've done a lot of these with you. I remember as you left NXT and you were navigating that, you'd said, you know what, maybe I'm going to change my finisher. And now you're in AEW, and a finisher that you had used quite a bit is used by a top guy in the company, MJF.
Yeah.
However, this double armbar has gotten over to like such an insane degree. Like, people so look forward to it. And what I love about it is it isn't always the same position. Sometimes you'll do it standing. Sometimes you'll do it like sort of side. Sometimes you'll do it almost like one-legged. I love the way that the submission is altered. What made you decide, okay, I'm going to go with that for something that's going to be on a TV property, so you're going to get the opportunity to highlight that quite a bit?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I am virtuoso, right? She's a submission specialist. So yes, there's other people that might do a Fujiwara armbar, and whether I choose to do that or I choose to do the Venus de Milo, I should be able to use them interchangeably. And for me, and the story we're telling right now, the double armbar works the best. But yeah, it is fun there's so many different ways to use it with different opponents, right? We got to see a different version of it with Taya. We've got to see it in a bunch of different ways. Even this past week, I decided not to use it, and I can use an ankle lock too. So it lends itself to my character, and just being able to show everyone that I'm flexible. And if there's someone who is on our card that is using the same thing as me, don't worry, I have another thing in my back pocket.
Also, so I remember you had posted a move that you would do on some NXT live events, and God, I wish I could remember the name of it. You would do the flip and the other person would do the flip. And I remember you were actually looking for a name for it. It was almost like an inverted Spanish fly type of thing. It was,
okay.
It looked so good. God, I wish I could find that now. It's going to drive me nuts.
Is it pendulum?
The pendulum.
Like exploder suplex, kind of.
Jesus Christ, it looked so good. It looked so good. What adjustments have you found in ring from AEW compared to TNA, if any? Like, you always hear about, you go to a different company, rings might be a little bit different, lightings, camera, anything like that. Like, what are some of the adjustments that you've made so far?
The ramp is so long. So I think in your head you kind of time out those things, how long it takes you, and I had gotten that opportunity for 3.5 years at Impact to know, like, this is what I do, these are the amount of steps I take. At this point in my music, I'm going to turn or I'm going to wave everybody off. And, coming in, having new music, having a very, very long ramp, just a bigger setup and bigger production is an adjustment. Definitely having that new music has been something that threw me a little bit, just because I hadn't heard it until I was literally ready to debut. So just trying to like get your mannerisms down and hit certain notes in the song and things like that. And again, like we talked about earlier, it's the timing of a television show, and we're live. And if you make mistakes, then you're cutting time from someone that comes there after you. So just the adjustment of knowing that like the stakes are so much higher because there's no stop. We can cut that. We can do that in post. And knowing that like the time that I use could take away from someone else, and I don't want to be disrespectful like that. So I need to listen to those cues. I need to plan the match accordingly, and things like that have been the biggest adjustment, I think.
I'm so excited to see you in this situation. I mean, you've done big pay-per-view matches, obviously. I mean, I was there for, I think, Slammiversary when you faced Thunder Rosa as well. Like, I mean, you're no stranger to that, and you always deliver in that situation. But what goes through your mind right now? Because you have done so much, and you were doing it so early. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like 6-7 matches in, you were on TV.
Yeah.
But every year it seems like you're finding a way to do something you haven't done before.
Yeah, it's you know, I think that's part of like a wrestler's mentality is like, okay, I did this, we checked it off. Now what? Okay, I did that. Now what? And I've been, again, really fortunate that I've been able to kind of like level up every year or change my game a little bit every year to stay relevant and stay on my toes and keep people wanting to see Deonna Purrazzo more and more. And again, just the amount of eyes that are now on me that might have never known I existed before. I'm introducing myself to a new audience still every single week. So to be heading into this pay-per-view, again, one of the biggest matches of my career, it's, again, scary. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I feel like, you know, especially in the last few weeks, it's been like a confidence thing, and I have to keep reminding myself, like, okay, you have done this before. You can do this. You've proven to yourself, like, just know that I'm worthy of the position that I'm in, and not take it for granted, but be like, you got this, you deserve this, and you're going to go out there and you're going to kill it, and you're going to become the new AEW Women's World Champion, and you deserve that. You deserve that.
I know that last year or around last year, I know TNA had picked up their option on you. Was there any question in your mind, like maybe I should be looking to go to somewhere else, or were you pretty sure that they were going to pick up that option for you, which we've seen they also have done publicly with people like Josh Alexander?
Yeah, I probably September of I guess it was 2022. I had asked them, like, I know you have the option. Respectfully, I think I'd like to explore. So it's your option, right? At the end of the day, they got the final say. But I did ask, like, I think I want to explore. I think now's the time if you could not take that option. And we had discussions back and forth, and ultimately they chose to take it. And I think it was for the better, actually. I think that, you know, to be able to revisit some stories with Jordan, to win the Knockouts World Championship again, to be a part of some of the fun stories that I was a part of, and to work with some of the younger girls that were just coming in. I had a lot of fun in my last year at Impact. And so I think as much as I thought it was time to explore, I think it was worthwhile for me to stay that one extra year.
Another person whose contract is coming up soon. I don't know if you can like throw something at him from the next room over, but Steve Macklin has a deal coming up. He is also a person who was given the ball and shown that he could do exactly what he said he could do, has performed at a main event level, has won world championships, much like yourself. Is that exciting for you? Is that like a nervous thing for you? How are you feeling? Because it's something you've been through multiple times.
Yeah, I think it's both. It's a bit nerve-wracking, and it's also exciting because it always feels good to know that you're wanted, you know, and that you've earned the right to ask for a little more, or you've proved that you're worth a little bit more. And I think, you know, the Steve Macklin we saw coming into Impact a few years ago versus the Steve Macklin that he is today is two completely different people. And I think that his confidence has grown, and he now is finding the ability to like speak up for himself and say, I deserve a little bit more, and not be walked on as much, because Steve Kubrick in real life is so sweet and is a teddy bear and is so kind that sometimes he needs that nudge to say, hey, stand up for yourself. Hey, is this really the best situation for you to be in? Think about it. And I think he's taking that role really well. And I'm really excited from a business standpoint, because obviously that helps our family, right? But then also as just like a wife standpoint of, I want to see you live your dreams too. I want to see you do whatever you think's best for you and is going to make you happy. So yeah, it's exciting.
I'm excited to see that too, because I mean, you are two people who were like, we can do this. We can absolutely perform at this level. We can deliver at this level. And both of you proved time and time again that you could. And then again, to a world championship level and a successful world championship level. I mean, he had some of the greatest matches in TNA history last year. You had some of the greatest TNA matches ever throughout the duration of your run as well. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you do here in AEW as well. So Greensboro Coliseum, Sting's final match. I don't know if you grew up a little Stinger. I know you're much younger than I, but I mean, he's still popped in and out and been around. Do you have any like particular Sting memories? Have you interacted with him at all thus far?
Unfortunately, not really. I feel like my days are so busy on Wednesdays that I don't see anybody besides maybe the people I'm working with. So no, I've not had too much interaction, but I think that just to be on this card, I think it's a pay-per-view that anyone on our roster wants to be on and would be honored to be on. I mean, it's you know, the upwards of 16,000 people in such a historic wrestling venue, to be able to say I'm a part of that. And it's my first pay-per-view in AEW. It's my first shot at the AEW Women's World Championship. It's amazing. It's this culmination of all these things together that, again, it's that nervous energy. It's that I have to deliver, because it's just huge.
The betting odds have you at a modest plus 350 underdog right now, Deonna. What do you have to say to those odds makers?
I don't think the Virtuosa is ever the underdog, but you know what? I think I've dealt with people doubting me my entire career, and I've made a career of proving them wrong. So stay tuned.
And if Tony tries to make good on her specific physical threats, how do you plan on preventing that? Very specific and demented physical threats.
I mean, look, I'm here to wrestle. I'm not here to talk. I'm not here to rekindle our friendship. I'm here to become a champion. And she can threaten me all she wants, but when you're locked in that Venus de Milo and there's a bunch of different ways to get you in it, I don't think you're punching anyone in the box.
That's fair. That's fair. Luther had a big part of sawing my hair off with a hook knife one time, along with Awesome Kong. Can you just give him a little extra for me?
Absolutely. I mean, I think he deserves a little extra just because the role he's played in all of this the last few weeks, but absolutely.
Deonna Purrazzo, I am so excited to watch you compete in this match. I think we did our first interview 7 years ago.
Wow.
And this is our 10th overall at Fightful. And hoping we do about 9 or 10 more over the next few years, because I have a feeling you're going to have lots to do. Tell the people where they can support you, where they can find you, where they can follow you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, everyone can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Deonna Purrazzo.
Until next time, guys, we're out.